Is that me? Is that better? Yeah.
Good evening, Kathleen Holland, Tyler New Canaan. We are just getting ourselves set up for the Inland Wetlands Commission meeting for June 16th. I see Katie Owsley on the Zoom call. Thank you for joining us, Katie. And I see you're shaking your head, so I know you can hear me. That's great. I'm just going to admit a few more people into the meeting as we get going here. Okay, we're good.
Okay. Good evening and welcome. This is Chair Angela Jameson calling to order the meeting of New Canaan's Inland Wetlands Commission on Monday, June the 16th, 2025 at 7:02 p.m. Please, Secretary Redden, would you call the roll?
Angela Jameson, Chairman.
Present.
Sandy Redden, Secretary, present. Beth Bernali.
Absent.
Absent. Beth Sanford.
Absent.
Daniel Stepanek.
Here.
Philip Williams is absent. Priscilla Woke.
Absent.
Don Mastronardi.
Absent.
Katie Owsley.
Here.
And Adam Ramirez.
Present.
Good. Thank you very much. So let's look at the agenda for this evening. Does anyone have any comments, questions? And if not, could I hear a motion to approve, please?
Do you want to see the alternative?
Oh, I'm sorry. Before I beg your pardon, before we do that, I would like to seat the alternates. Mr. Ramirez, please, would you be seated for Ms. Bernali?
Yes.
Thank you. And Ms. Owsley, please, would you be seated for Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Thank you very much. So let's turn to the agenda. Any comments, questions?
No.
If not, may I hear a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Stepanek. Seconded by
Second.
Mr. Redden. Thank you. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So that's unanimous. Next, we should look at the minutes of the regular meeting, May 19th, 2025. Any comments, questions? If not, may I hear a motion to approve, please?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Redden. Seconded by Mr. Stepanek. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. Miss Owsley, are you?
I wasn't at the meeting, Angela, so I was abstaining from the vote.
Good. Okay, so one abstention and four votes in favor of approving the minutes. Site visit minutes of June 10th, 2025 and site visit minutes of June the 11th, 2025. Any comments, questions? If not, could someone who was at the site visit please make a motion?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Redden, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Ramirez. All those in favor, please raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
And Miss Owsley
Abstaining again.
is abstaining. Thank you. Good. Now we'll open the regular meeting. Item 5, applications to be received and if complete, to be scheduled for the July 21st, 2025 regular meeting. We have just one application, number IW-25-31, 9 Ripperworm Road, Jeffrey B. Dobbs, and 1497 Ponus Ridge, Edward Bassett Bretschke Jr. and Elizabeth M. Jenkins Bretschke. In the area adjacent to the existing dam, the applicants want to temporarily drain a portion of Collins Pond in order to assess upstream face and features of the existing dam for repair designs. So let's see if we can schedule a site visit And we were thinking about the 2nd of July, I believe.
Mhm.
So is that a date that suits everyone?
I can do it.
Okay.
I can do it.
I can.
And
I cannot.
okay. And I can make it. So we would have a quorum. So let's go ahead and say July the 2nd. And would you like to do that at 7:30 again, those who have day jobs?
Mhm.
Yes,
Okay,
please.
okay. 7:30 a.m. It is.
And Katie was no. She's
Kate
not.
is no,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so now let's move on to the applications that we will be reviewing this evening. Item 7, application IW-25-10, 676 Laurel Road, A. Hallen. Excavate a pond within the existing stream channel and associated wetland area. Create a plunge pool to capture sediment before it enters the pond. And I believe Director Holland is going to give us an update on that application.
Hold on just a minute. I noticed one of our. Okay. Somebody's coming in the meeting. I just have to get this last presenter in. Okay, very good. Okay, here we go. So for Laurel Road, I did receive a extension of time. The applicant is continuing to vet out some issues or some design things with that particular proposed pond dredging, and they requested to be continued to the July meeting. So it's tabled with no presentation this evening.
Very good. And do we need to take a vote on
Nope.
that? Nope. Okay,
We're all set.
we're all set.
Oh, the only thing I did say, I asked the consultant to provide us the documentation. I think it was the second week in July, whatever that Monday is, so that we can have that in our folder to review.
That makes perfect sense. It's always very nice to get the documents well ahead of time so that we can review them properly. Okay, item number 8, application IW-25-23. Location of activity is a culvert under Lakeview Avenue. And the applicant here is the town of New Canaan, 77 Main Street. The plan is to remove and replace the existing bridge culvert on Lakeview Avenue, located approximately 300 feet to the east of Summer Street over an unnamed watercourse. So I'd like to invite the agent, Keegan Elder, and Rafid Islam to present to the commission.
Okay, good evening, everyone. For the record, my name is Keegan Elder from WMC Consulting Engineers. We're presenting this project on behalf of the town of New Canaan for this bridge replacement. Everybody hear me well?
We can, thank
Okay, perfect. Give me a second. Let me pull up my plans here. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so this project involves the replacement of a existing culvert that's been rated in poor condition over Lakeview Avenue, over the unnamed brook. This culvert, the existing culvert, is approximately 6 feet by about 5 feet. The stream flows north to south in this area. Lakeview Avenue carries this structure. Our plan is to replace this existing structure with a proposed culvert. The proposed culvert is going to be slightly larger than the existing culvert. It's going to be about 7 feet by 12 feet. That improves the hydraulics in this area slightly, and also replaces an ailing structure. In order to do that, I'll scroll down on my plans here and give you guys a view of that work. So this is our existing or proposed plan. The roadway work needed for the work is shown in yellow. We're doing some minor drainage work just west of the culvert. Before
I'm sorry, Mr. Elder. Could you sort of move your, that's it, move your
There we go.
zoom in so we can sort of read the notes.
Sorry, yep.
That's better.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Up a little.
And then can you move it to the left? Hey, that's perfect. Perfect. Thank you.
Yep, sorry about that.
No
So
worries.
this is Lakeview Avenue, running west to east, east to west, and this is the brook running north to south. Our existing culvert is that light blue shaded area. Our proposed culvert, slightly wider than the existing culvert. And like I said, it's going to improve hydraulics, improve conveyance of water through this area. In order to construct this culvert in the dry, which is a requirement by fisheries and the ENS guidelines, state of Connecticut, we're going to temporarily bypass the brook with the dark shaded bypass pipe as shown here. The contractor will set up his ENS controls at the beginning of construction, install temporary cofferdams shown in the light blue or aqua color here, bypass the brook, during which time he'll remove and install the new culvert, construct any adjacent wing walls needed, backfill, install guide rail, drainage, and we repave the road. It's a relatively straightforward project. We have so far contacted fisheries, NDDB, and a few of the historic societies. So far, fisheries has deemed that there are no species of concern in this area. They anticipate or they expect that when we do this work, any unconfined work needs to take place during the low flow period of the year. So contractor, once he installs his temporary cofferdam, he has the ability to work within the channel. The cofferdam means that they use or can use would consist of either sandbags, dead men wrapped in plastic, concrete blocks. We don't anticipate that there'll be driving sheets for this work. It's not that deep of an excavation that driving sheets would be required, but essentially that's the gist of what we're going to do here. For impacts, our wetland impacts associated with this work, permanent 180 square feet, water course 210 for a total of 390. temporary impacts. That's the area of the cofferdams. Is 15 for wetland impacts, 25 for watercourse impacts, with a total of 40 square feet. So total wetland impacts, 195, watercourse impacts, 235, for a total of 430 square feet of impacts. And all of that work is associated with either removing the existing culvert and installing the new culvert, any grading associated with that, our temporary bypass pipe, and reconstruction of the existing drainage that flows through the project. I'll go through another plan or two just to give you guys a concept of the proposed structure. So this plan, sort of a enhanced version of what I previously had up on the screen, better depicts sort of the limits of our work. The wing walls that I mentioned earlier, guide rail along the edge of the road to protect oncoming traffic from the drop-offs down the channel. We have a sidewalk over the culvert. Here's our culvert overspanning the existing. The proposed drainage improvements shown with catch basins, pipe, outlet pipes. And then this view sort of captures what it would look like from an elevation perspective. Our culvert shown here. This is our box culvert or channel work, and wing walls and parapets shown with the sort of block shading. As part of this work, we will be also replacing any existing stream bed material that's found on site with in the new culvert. That's one of the other recommendations that was made by fisheries, is that we reuse any natural stream bed material. If we need supplemental stream bed material, they gave us guidance on specifications for sourcing that material to mimic what's existing in the area for the existing stream bed. This project, from a schedule perspective, is hopefully going to move forward at some point this year. Our next steps, once we get through this local inland wetland requirement, is to consult with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. There's a potential for a funding grant by the state of Connecticut called Local Bridge Program, where one of the requirements is that we present this project to DEP and the Army Corps for their review and concurrence. And determination on that grant should be coming sometime in July. Once we get that determination, we can go ahead and, if successful, we can go ahead and submit to the Army Corps for their review and approval, in addition to DEEP for the 401 water quality certification. That process generally takes maybe 2 to 3 months. So with that in mind, I think the project will be able to go forward as soon as this fall. But again, that'll be up to the town and their schedule for construction. With that, I will open it to any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Elder. Do we have questions? Director Holland?
Keegan, thank you for the explanation on the setup and the staging for the construction activities. Can you just review a little bit additional information regarding post construction of the culvert and the wing walls, and how the embankments will be stabilized upon completion of the activities?
Sure, absolutely. So our existing embankments, I'll highlight it on this view, will be stabilized with a natural 2-to-1 slope. This slope will be seeded post-construction. The limits of our clearing, there are not too many trees out there. There may be a couple of trees that are going to be removed for the construction. There's a couple of them that are dead or close to dying. But as far as the slopes and the embankments, we anticipate gentle slopes off the edge of the road at 12-to-1 for about 4 feet, sort of match what's existing, and then 2-to-1 down to the channel and down to the toe of the slope. Sometimes, in some cases, for example, on the southeast corner, we have closer to a 3-to-1 or 4-to-1, and on the other 3 corners, close to a 2-to-1 slope that is stabilized with grass and natural plantings. There are no proposed locations of riprap. The flows through here, although it's relatively steep, scour numbers did not indicate that there's significant scour, neither is there evidence of significant scour in the existing conditions. If it was determined that we needed any stone or riprap to stabilize these slopes, fisheries did acknowledge that if needed, we would need to surface dress the riprap with natural stream bottom material. But as of now, we're not proposing any additional stabilization beyond natural grading down from the wing walls and turf establishment.
Angela,
Thank
can I
you
ask
for-
a question?
Sure. Director Holland may have a follow-up question if you don't mind just waiting, Commissioner Owsley.
Yeah, I do have one follow-up question, thank you for the information regarding the stabilization plan. I recall on the site visit that we took with the commission members, there is a drainage pipe that enters the inlet side of the stream channel. How will that be accommodated during the construction activities?
So yes, that is this drainage pipe shown coming in right here on the northeast corner of the project. So as shown, that drainage pipe enters the channel just before our bypass pipe. So based on our proposed limit of work, the contractor does not need to disturb that pipe. The water would enter the stream as it currently does, and once it does, it would be conveyed through the bypass down the channel. If for some reason the contractor's means and methods require that the end of this culvert be disturbed, they'll be required to replace any disturbed portion of the pipe and maintain drainage during and post-construction.
Thank you.
Commissioner Owsley?
Yes, thank you. I was just wondering about the capacity of the bypass pipe and how it would function in how it's set up to function in significant storms.
So the bypass pipe is designed using sort of a duration and a temporary storm guideline that we use per CONDOT. Based on your project duration, our project or the length of time during construction that the bypass pipe would be needed is a 3 to 6 month range. Based on that duration, we're anticipated to protect against a 2-year flood event. And as such, that bypass pipe is meant to protect or convey that level frequency storm. In the event that we get a fluke storm that's larger than what that bypass pipe can convey during construction. It happens from time to time. The contractor will sort of make sure his excavated area is clean, secure any materials that were on site or in the excavation or in the hole of construction, so that any overflows will be conveyed downstream. Those are typically freak events, and they do happen. But part of construction, and we've done a few of these with the town in the past, is we meet, biweekly during construction with the contractor, make sure that they're aware of any impending significant storm events, and that they secure the site prior to anything like that. But for construction design, our call to task is to design for that frequency or that duration that we anticipate the bypass pipe being used.
Commissioner Stepanic?
Yeah, this is Dan Stepani. Can we assume that the road's going to be closed when when it's under construction?
Yes. So that
You're
is,
going to have, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, you go ahead. Yes, it'll be
Are
close.
you, and where's the detour going to be then? It's,
I
there gonna
don't
be a
have,
detour.
there will be a detail in place. We have a plan proposed to the city. I don't have that plan with me currently, but I can certainly share that with the commission. But yes, the project is anticipated to be closed just before and after the bridge. Our specifications require that the contractor maintain access to any driveways, mailboxes, trash pickup, emergency services. All of these things are standard that they are required to do during construction.
How long is the bridge going to be closed?
We anticipate this to be a one-season project, which is generally in the 8-month range. I don't see much complications that would make this longer. Matter of fact, if you get a good contractor, they can get this done as soon as 6 months. But from a planning perspective, we anticipate it to be an 8-month project. That includes procurement of materials, submittals that's needed, removal of the existing, installation of the new, any in-water work, stabilization of the slopes, guide rail, new sidewalk, new pavement, driveway aprons, drainage, and completely repaving the road. So probably about 8 to 9 months from a planning perspective.
And the sidewalk is going to be on what side?
On the northerly side of the road. We laid it out in such a way to tie into and match up with another proposed sidewalk project that the town is working on that extends beyond the limits of our proposed work. If you've been out to the site, there's a little room on that northerly side where the culvert is overextended upstream slightly. So that's the ideal area for the proposed sidewalk.
This is Angela Jameson. Will you actually be doing work on neighbors' properties either side of the roadway? Will you need to use their properties for staging some of your equipment?
Yes, great question. There are impacts to the abutters on all 4 corners of the bridge, whether it be the bypass pipe. This view doesn't have it highlighted, but if you follow my cursor, probably just 5 feet off the edge of the road is the approximate street line or town right-of-way limits. And beyond that, we are doing some minor grading to tie into the existing, maybe reconstruction of our walls, guide rails, but this work has been identified and will be procured via rights-of-way process once we get past or wetland application. We would submit property maps to the town for their review that shows the impacts on those properties. We did notify those abutters of the proposed work and the intent for construction. And we'll be looking forward to meet with them and coordinate how those impacts affect them during construction and get their sign off before we move ahead.
So you do need their consent before you start work.
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay.
And yes,
As this is Mark Silverman, one of the adjoining property owners.
Excuse me, Mr. Silverman. I'm afraid this isn't a public hearing, so we're going to hear just from the applicant and its agents, and then comments, questions from the commission. So I'm afraid we
sorry.
can't allow you to make a comment at this time.
You can contact Public Works. Director.
Okay. apologies.
If you've got an issue, probably you should contact Public Works directly and express that that concern or question that you may have.
Okay, will do.
Thank you very much.
and if I can add one more thing to Mr. Silverman's concern, we'll also be having a public information meeting in the near future once the funding is determined and so forth, where the town will send out notices and invite any abutters who are either affected or have concerns about the project to come forth and make their concerns be heard. So that will be available shortly as well.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for that additional comment, Mr. Elder. Any more questions from the commission members? Does Director Holland have any suggested special conditions?
I had one that I thought of in advance and one that came to me during the presentation. So a suggestion, should you vote favorably on this, upon completion of the construction activities, the applicant should submit an as-built drawing of the project. The other one that I'm thinking about, and Keegan, maybe this actually is something that is captured in a contract or a construction contract that you'll have eventually with your person doing the work. If your timeline gets pushed back and you find yourself trying to potentially provide stabilization on the embankments during a season that's not able to be stabilized, does the contract typically include that the contractor shall provide a temporary stabilization of the embankments until permanent vegetated stabilization can be provided?
Yes, absolutely. So in the event that we get to a point where either the stabilization of the embankment is not established or he can't plant seeds or so forth, most contracts have a built-in retainage mechanism where the contractor is not paid in full until slopes have been established and the site is safe and to the liking of the town or to the liking of the client. So that's one mechanism that's available to make sure that occurs. And just general rule of practice, a year beyond that, the contractor is still required to make sure that these slopes have reestablished growth and are stabilized before that retainage is paid to the contractor. So there are a few mechanisms built in that, sort of make sure that they make certain that they get back on site and make sure that everything has been stabilized and established. During construction, if he has to go away or shut the site down for any duration, he will be required to protect those slopes as well, in his own best interest. But that's generally what's in place for the contract for establishing and protecting the slopes.
Great. Thank you very much. Just for the commission members' knowledge, Joe Zagorensky is also on the call by Zoom, and he's our town representative and does all the bridge construction work. And I'm pretty sure Joe is that much more familiar with what Keegan's talking about. So it does not seem to be necessary to add in another special condition. So the only special condition I would recommend was the as-built
Right.
upon completion.
I believe that Commissioner Owsley has an additional question.
Nope.
Oh, okay, very good. Sorry, we thought you did. Good. So does it sound as though we need that potential second condition?
I would say no. Joe can chime in if he wants to unmute himself and add any color to the discussion we're having.
Yeah, no, we're not going to walk away the project until it's stabilized. So I don't think there's any reason for any sort of special condition. It is the town. So
Okay, so
Just one more.
yeah, please
Who-
go ahead. Mr.
Yeah,
Stepanek.
Joe, who has to approve this besides wetlands? Is there another commission?
well, it would have to go in front of the Board of Selectmen for contract approval.
Doesn't planning and zoning, don't get involved in this? No, okay.
No.
Mm-mm.
All right. I thought maybe planning and zoning might, but okay, if they're not, that's okay. Thank you.
Very, very good. So if we have no further questions, does anybody feel ready to make a motion? Commissioner Redden?
Commissioner Redden, for the record, make the motion to approve application IW 25-23 with the one special condition by Director Holland for the as-built.
Very good. Somebody like to second that?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Commissioner Stepanek. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So that is passed unanimously. Thank you very much, Mr. Elder and colleagues, and also Mr. Zagorensky.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Have a good
Welcome.
evening.
Thank you.
too. So moving on, item number 9, application IW-25-19, 22 Parish Lane, Daniel and Gillian Gabrielson. Remove invasive plant material and install native plants within the rear woodlands. Install low impact pressure treated wood boards over wetlands totaling approximately 100 linear feet by 4 feet wide. Using stone dust or native gravel, install on grade walking paths in upland areas totaling approximately 300 linear feet by approximately 4 feet wide. So I'd like to invite the agent to make a presentation to the commission. I believe it's Mr. Troy.
Yes, good evening all. Can everybody hear me?
We can, thank you.
Okay. Let me share my screen. Okay, so I'm here to represent the Gabrielsons for their property, for the wetland renovation in the back of their property. The Gabrielsons basically have 3 goals in mind for this project. The first goal would be to eliminate the invasives that are taking over the area. There's Japanese barberry, there's goutweed, there is porcelain berry, and burning bush in the area that is basically choking out all the native species. The property, as you can see in this area here, sits elevated on a retaining wall. So their entire view from their back patio and their house is of this wetlands. So with the invasives choking it out, it sort of becomes an eyesore to the owners. And it also, obviously, it's becoming environmentally impacted by the invasives taking over. The second thing that they want to, basically get from this project is to beautify the area by introducing some native species that are giving them some color, giving forage for animals and birds. And then the final thing they want to get out of the project is to be able to access this area. I think, they have this sort of grand scheme that to walk back here and sit and read a book by the gurgling pond is one of their goals. The areas right along here are the elevated boardwalks. They would be mounted on helic mounts into the ground with a wooden post on top. Excuse me?
I'm sorry to interrupt. Do you think you could zoom in a little
Yeah, I'm
bit
sorry.
so that we can see the detail a little more clearly? Thank you so much.
Is that good?
Is that good for commission members?
That's better.
Yep, thank you so much.
So I'll start back here. This is actually an existing staircase that comes down with a walkway that goes across what I would call a seasonal brook here. The only time I've ever seen water in it is now with all this rain. We would then access the first section of elevated boardwalk that crosses the direct wetland area, dropping onto the gravel path, and then picking up the elevated boardwalk again to cross this water course. This water course is, anytime I've been there, has always been flowing, so it's a fairly active water course. The one thing I would say on the drawing when I was out there the other day, I would like to push the crossing a little bit farther up because the banks of the stream get much steeper and higher here. So I don't think we would have any issues with debris coming down the water course and coming in contact with the bridge.
So could you just point with your cursor where you would like to put that?
It's in this little narrowed area here. It becomes very steep. And this entire water course is fairly well lined with natural stone. The only place it isn't is up in this area right here where it does overflow the banks and sort of floods into this area. But otherwise, it's pretty well secured on the banks. So after crossing this bridge, this is basically they just want to be able to access their land over here. We would come around, obviously, a lot of native plantings in this area. Coming to this area here where there's already a double stone that on an old farmer's wall where you would cross the waterway again. So this would not be constructed in this area. This already exists. Coming up in this area back into the gravel. I mean, the draftsman drew this as a circle. I don't envision it as a circle. I envision it just as a level area that may even just go back to leaf litter. I don't see a reason that this necessarily needs to be gravel, but it's the flattest area on the property. It's an area that they want to sort of surround with, lush, nice plantings. We introduce things like pawpaws and stuff up here, and be able to maybe have a pair of Adirondack chairs or something to read a book up in here. And then it basically returns you back in and you exit the wetlands again. In this area over here is really the only tree that they're interested in taking down. It's a large dead, I believe it was an old swamp maple or Acer rubrum, and it's leaning towards the residence, and it's a fairly good sized tree, and it's been dead for quite a while. This is a heavily infested area of Japanese barberry, and that's where we would put a lot of the plug introductions in that area. If I can switch, I'll bring up the planting plan. So this is basically showing you what we want to introduce into the area as far as plantings. For the grasses, we want to use carex. We're going to put some marsh marigold, cardinal flower, golden Alexander. That's all going to be introduced primarily as plugs, DP50 plugs and DP75 plugs. And then coming down below that is sort of the larger shrubs or small tree, Amelanchier canadensis, and the common pawpaw. Nyssa sylvatica would be introduced in the area where we would be taking that one large tree down. So essentially over in this area here, we put the Nyssa sylvatica in. Taxodium distichum in the lower corner. Let's zoom this out a little bit so I don't have to zoom so much. So we would be putting the Taxodium distichums over in this area here after. And also this whole entire area is absolutely, you can't even walk through there with all the burning bush. So by opening that up, we're going to, create, better conditions to grow the native plant material. As far as shrubs, we're going to put Aesculus parviflora, or Calacanthus burgundy spice, Clethra alnifolia, Ilex glabra, Ilex verticillata, Itea, lindera, Rhododendron viscosum, and Vaccinium angustifolium. And the shrubs, as you can see, we're doing Cerum canadensis, Carex albicans, Lobelia cardinalis, Matukia struthiopsis, let's just call it ostrich fern, royal fern, and foam flower. And that's primarily what we're proposing to do. Any questions?
Any questions from the commission? This is Angela Jameson. I just have a couple of questions. I mean, it is a lovely wetlands. You stand there just below the house and you look onto those wetlands. To me, they look absolutely lovely as they are, except of course for the invasives. But from what you've said, the homeowners really want to have some paths through those wetlands so that they can enjoy their property. Could you just show with your cursor where there are existing paths in the wetlands right now?
So essentially this entire area over in here is, well, I guess sort of starting here, it's pretty much open. There's not a lot of growth there. There's some natives, and there's some Japanese primrose that has come downstream and is growing in this area. So there's not a lot of growth here. As you
No,
get
but I'm sorry, I was referring to the paths. Where
So
are the paths?
right now, there are no paths in this wetlands. It is-
Okay, including where we see those the stone wall, which is in the wetlands.
Where over here?
Yes, you said you were, I mean, that is in the wetlands. You're not proposing a boardwalk there. And I believe
No.
you said that was because there were existing large stones.
These two stones exist most likely from farmers a long, long time ago. It was a way to
Mhm.
cross the stream. So those are existing.
So no trails at all currently in these wetlands.
There are no trails at all. Once you get above this area here, you can't even move through the burning bush and Japanese barberry. It's totally blocked.
Mm. And then I had a question regarding your maps. I'm actually looking at the site development map dated April 25th. And there are quite a few lines on there. So I sort of did some coloring to make it easier for myself to identify where the wetlands are. And I believe the wetlands on this map are, you have one dot and then a long dash.
Yep.
So if you have a look right by the house, there is a comment that says limit of wetlands. I actually think that maybe that pointer is may not be in the correct place, because I believe that the designation of the line with the 3 dots, that is the actual low flow of the water course, and that the limit of the wetland should actually be, that pointer should be extending out to the line with a single dot. But maybe I'm confusing something here.
Okay, so the plan that we worked off right here is, I'm not seeing that on it. If I go back to our plan.
His site plan.
Right, I'm looking at your site plan.
On my site plan, okay.
I'm basically questioning whether you have accurately shown us the limit of the wetlands.
Trying to see where they have these arrows.
You had it a minute ago. If you just go down a little bit. No, the other way, that's it. So move it down a bit.
North side of the house. Go up. There you
Okay,
go.
there you
Okay.
see.
Between the two PLs.
Yeah, they do have that in the wrong area. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Right.
That should be over here.
There you go, right?
Yeah,
there.
I think that pointer is
Yeah.
not correctly extended. That was my
Yeah.
point.
Yes, I agree with you.
Yeah. Maybe you could just resubmit, one copy which has that pointer extended would be my
100%. I'll
suggestion.
take care of that in the morning.
Yeah.
In addition to making that correction on the map, good catch, Madam Chair. You mentioned that you would like to potentially shift the location of, I think, one section of boardwalk.
Yes.
If that could be reflected on the submittal as well, once you determine where that will be shifted to, I think that would be helpful as well.
I will do that.
And I had another question. Are all the felled trees going to be replaced numerically?
So the only tree we're really proposing taking down is the one large dead
Yep.
Acer rubrum. So we're adding 2 taxodiums and we're adding 3 Nyssa sylvaticas, I believe. So we're adding 5 trees back into the planting.
Well, that's good. That's great. Okay. Director Holland, any special conditions that you can think
A
of?
few more questions.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm full of questions tonight. You had, on your plan, I see you phasing different aspects of the plan. It looks to me like you've got phase 1 is the primary motivation for the project is to remove the invasives.
Correct.
And then would replanting take place as part of that phase 1 project or any kind of mitigation to that area?
So first off, the phasings were for a couple reasons. One is we originally were gonna hope to get the invasives out prior to them leafing out and growing. Obviously that hasn't happened. The phase 2 was so we're not working in wet conditions. Our intention was to do it in the fall season so that we're not working in the mud. I would probably imagine this may end up becoming a 1-phase program. I can't speak for the Gabrielsons, but since we're looking later in the season, this may end up being a summer project where we tackle both phases. Did that sort of answer your question?
Yes, I guess my concern would be if phase 1 occurred and then ultimately for some reason phase 2 never occurred. So I would like to be assured, I think the commission would like to be assured that it is a full project as far as especially any mitigation planting that would be taking place.
Yeah. So all the mitigation planning that we can do in phase 1, we will do in phase 1. Obviously, our access to the lower right-hand corner of the area is limited without that boardwalk. So I'm not sure if we would be carrying, have ways to carry trees across that water course. So that would be reliant on phase 2 going in. But we would
Yes, I
certainly, because we're going to be
agree.
removing all the burning bush, we would do the herbaceous and the smaller shrubs in that area. That's all part of that they want to do in phase 1. They obviously, their goal is, like I said, get rid of the invasives which are taking over and have this attractive as they sit on, on their terrace to look down on it. Not that it isn't already attractive. I mean, the ferns are beautiful, and everything else is in there, but just to add a little bit of color and maybe some berries and things in there just to brighten it up a little.
Okay. And then last question, as far as if you look at the overall project and construction activities that would take place, you mentioned you're doing, I think, the piers for the boardwalk. What type of machinery do you envision bringing down to that rear area in order to accomplish the project?
It's done with a hand auger. So there's zero machinery coming into this area except hand tools. It's all going to be done by hand. There's really no access in there. We would have to dismantle that retaining wall to even get a machine down in here, and it's not worth it. The damage is, like I said, just walking through there the other day, I wasn't even aware of the American wintergreen growing in there. Our intention is to leave all that stuff intact. We don't want to disturb that. So it's a pretty big job they're taking on to do this by hand, but that's the goal. Now, that said, taking that large tree out, there will be hand carts. We're going to have to manage that in a way that the arborist doesn't just trample everything. That's going to be, we're going to have to dictate that in their contract.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? So I would like to suggest as a special condition that the applicant submit those 2 small corrections to the site plan. The one that it shows the designation of where the limit of the wetlands are, but also more importantly, where you are planning to actually put that bridge, because it's going to be a little different from what we're looking at here. So I
Correct.
would suggest that as a special condition. Any other special conditions anybody wants to suggest?
I had one other, that upon completion of the trail system and boardwalk, they submit an as-built.
Very good. Would anybody like to make?
Say that again. What did you say?
Once they finish the project, because there's some actual structures going to be put into the wetlands, the raised boardwalk.
Yeah.
We like to get an as-built of that
Okay.
done, so an A2 survey.
Very good. Would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Stepanek.
I'd like to suggest that the commission approve application number. I gotta put my glasses on here. IW 2519. I'd like to make a motion this be approved. Do I have to read this whole? I don't have to read everything.
No,
Yeah.
do you want to include the special conditions?
With the special condition, yes, yes.
Somebody like to second that?
I second.
Mr. Ramirez, thank you. All those in favor, please say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Hi.
Oh, Commissioner Owsley, thank you so much. So that is approved unanimously. Thank you very much indeed. Mr.
Thank you.
Troy, appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
So moving on, item 10, application IW-25-37, IW-25-24, 37 Long Lots Road, Min Kong Tang and Yuan Lin. I am not going to read the description of what they're planning to do, because I believe that there has been a change here, and I'm going to ask the agent, Barbara Wilson, to explain that change and to make her presentation to us.
Yes, good evening. I'm Barbara Wilson. I'm a licensed landscape architect from New Canaan. I was hired by the clients because they wanted to do a couple things. They wanted to create a flat back lawn, and then they wanted to do some removal of dead trees in their backyard. What has come to pass, the owner has opted now to not do the grading of the back lawn area, and therefore we don't have to do any grading, filling, or renovations in the mostly upland review area at the rear of the house. So what happened is the owners wanted to originally remove some dead trees. There was a lot of very large standing dead trees, and they were very hazardous in their backyard, and they were worried that in the woods upland review area and the wetlands, they were worried about, their children going back there and maybe, getting hurt. So they hired an arborist who was supposed to come out and remove some dead trees. And the arborist proceeded to basically clear cut, which is shown on these photographs. Can you see my photographs?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yep.
we can.
So this one on the left is the before, and then this one on the right is, as you can see where this down tree is. Beyond that, that was all this, I call it a tangle. When I did my first site walk, I couldn't even walk through this wetlands or upland review area because it was so dense. So the arborist cleared portions of this, not understanding that it was regulated area, and it started before any kind of permit was submitted. So where we are now, we created a remediation planting plan for both the wetlands and the upland review area. I'll show that right now. Oops, sorry. So we are not doing this portion in the gray. That would be the lawn area. So what we're doing is most everywhere where the green trees and the shrub symbols are, we are not doing this portion in the corner. That's going to remain lawn, but we are doing these two areas down here. This is in the upland review area. This is in the wetland area. So this is in the wetland area. This is in the upland review area. So there are some down trees. There are a few dead trees. The owner is probably going to leave. The contractor is hopefully going to be able to cut up and remove by hand some of these large trees, or we may just leave them if that can't happen. There's going to be replanting with wetland area appropriate trees, shrubs, and ground covers to reestablish the vegetation there. There will be no grading or no removal of any soils or addition of any soils. The installation of the new plantings in the wetland includes a combination of native trees like Amelanchier canadensis, Nyssa sylvatica, and some Quercus bicolor. Shrubs, Aronia arbustifolia, Cornus sericea, Hamamelis virginiana, and some Sambucus canadensis. Then the ground covers will be some juncus and some cinnamon ferns. That'll happen in both of the wetland areas here and here. And in the upland review areas, which is here and here, we will have a combination of Carpinus carolina for trees, along with Quercus rubra. Shrubs will include Clethra alnifolia, Cornus sericea, and Hamamelis virginiana, with some Ilex glabra, and then a lot of ferns. So Dryopteris marginalis, which can take that more upland area property. So the planting is proposed to start this fall in 2025. I told the client that he probably will have to control some of the invasives. I saw a lot of poison ivy coming back in the cleared areas. So he will have to control that somewhat as the new vegetation mitigation plantings grow. And the owner will set up a system to water these plants as best possible. I'm not sure it will be needed except for maybe in the upland review areas, and we still will have to figure out if that actually can happen because it's so far from the house and they only have a well. But we will talk about that. So that is it for my presentation. So some of these details aren't we're not doing the stone wall. We're not going to do the silt fence because there's no need, and we're not going to do the anti-tracking pad, but we are going to do all of these plants here. And then that was the sort of removals and demolition, which isn't going to necessarily happen. This whole area is not going to be disturbed at all, and the stone wall are all going to remain as is. So that's it for my presentation. Does anybody have any questions?
This is Angela Jameson, Miss Wilson. I'm just very surprised that somebody who considers him or herself to be an arborist would have undertaken to remove trees from an area that was clearly wetlands ahead of a permit being given. Do you have any comment on that?
I honestly don't know who the fellow is and his crew. I don't think they're licensed arborists. The owner hired this gentleman and his crew because they were doing work across the street, and he hired them. So I wasn't provided any documentation of who they actually are, and if they are actually arborists or if they're just, I call it landscapers.
Yeah, I think the lesson here is that you need to know your contractor. You need to really make sure that they're appropriately credentialed and that they're going to do the work in an appropriate fashion. And that can be a challenge, particularly for people who are new to the neighborhood and perhaps haven't come into contact with much in the way of inland wetlands in the past.
Exactly. Yes, this is a new homeowner for this area. He was in town in another property, but he moved here from overseas and didn't understand really what was happening, or totally all of the impact and things he could or couldn't do. And I was sort of hired after the fact.
Right. So has any damage been done to the wetlands by the contractor who took the trees down and used
Well,
machinery to do that?
So I sent you some photos, right? These photos. So here's another one. This was what I saw when I did my original investigation in March 25th, and this was May 4th. You can see that all of the shrubbery and things, the tangle up to this wall are gone. And I happened to go there to meet the client, and I didn't know the arborist or the tree crew, let's call them tree removal crew, was there. And I basically freaked out. And I was like yelling at them, what are you doing? You don't have a permit to do that. You can't just clear cut to remove these dead trees. And so I don't know why this really happened, but that's what I saw when I went there. Because yeah, is the guy. I think he's this guy right here, or that guy. So you can see that, again, it was, I call it understory tangle in the wetlands with the upland review behind, and all cleared right here.
Yep.
So, and then this
So
was
does there need to be any additional mitigation taken as a result of this having occurred? Because I think you probably put the plantings together before the clear cutting had occurred.
Nope. No, I hadn't done the plantings before the clear cutting. This all happened after
Okay.
that. Because I had originally submitted a draft plan with Kathleen showing where we wanted to do this lawn work, and hadn't done anything in the wetlands or the upland review area because we weren't going there. We were only going to this wall and this wall. We were building this wall, and then we were going to give back a little area of wetlands and plant it. That was all that so originally it was just going to be this envelope. And then I showed up, and then everything went wrong.
Barbara, Kathleen Holland for the record. One thing I just want to add for the commission members, the person who did drop the trees, they did not, thank goodness, pull any stumps, probably because you showed up on the scene at the time that you did. So as far as to the chair's question regarding impacts to the wetlands, my sense is at least we did not have stumps pulled directly from the wetlands. And it sounds to me that the plan possibly going forward is to probably cut the down trees smaller and leave them in place. That's a possibility. I just want to confirm stumps are remaining.
Yes, stumps are remaining, and we want your input because I don't know honestly if they can carry some of those big trees if they try to cut them even in pieces. So would it be appropriate to just leave all of the big trees where they are? That's my question to you all.
Kathleen, I think we need a new plan, don't we? I mean, with all the changes and everything?
No,
we
no,
need
the
a-
only change was the grading. We're not doing the grading and the lawn work. All the rest of this is,
I would think that you'd want to smooth this out some way. You just don't want to say, we're not going to do this, we're going to do this. I think you need a new plan on this.
So,
And I don't think it's a big deal, but I think you need something that we're going to work from. They're going to work from.
so you could handle it a couple of ways. In this case, the wetlands permit will not include or will specifically exclude, if you would like, any of the things that were part of the application that they are actually not doing. Should the applicant wish to come back at a future date, they'd have to come back before the commission to do the grading and the stone wall work. So as far as I understand what Barbara has explained as far as what I'm going to be doing, as far as going out and looking at the final product of what they're doing. It's the mitigation planting only, which is frankly as a result of a violation. So this is sort of gone back into the lane of mitigation planting only. One special condition that I would suggest is that upon completion of landscaping activities, including the mitigation plantings, the landscape architect shall inspect and provide a final report confirming compliance with the wetland permit. So I think that will then capture, she's not asking to change any of the plans or any of the mitigation plans that are going to be done. I completely understand they are not grading out the backyard. They are not asking to do the removal of the stone wall or reconfiguration of the stone wall. It almost is two separate projects, honestly. It came in initially as the grading and the stone wall work. Then the disturbance to the wetlands was discovered by Barbara when she went out to meet with the client. And then it turned into a mitigation plan. So we're back to mitigation plan. So I don't know that it's worth time or money, honestly, to redraw a plan when things are being removed from the plan. In the other case, on the other project, there was a mistake on the map. I think, yes, we should get that corrected. And he's relocating a portion of that crossing. So I would like to know where he's talking about for that. So that felt like that is worth doing a revision on. That
And
makes
then
sense?
the other thing, if we really think it's important, and I don't know if it is, if we do a little investigation, we can find out who that tree cutter is.
Yeah, I've asked.
And we should probably
yeah,
mention it.
I've tried to
You know
get
who it
some
is?
additional information. I have not been able to obtain a name from to confirm just as Barbara hasn't been able to confirm who it is as well. I certainly can ask the owner again
Yeah.
to,
They wrote
and
a check, unless they paid cash and then the neighbor hired them. Someone in the neighborhood
Yeah.
knows them.
it's,
Yeah, he's across
I'll
the
follow
street.
up best I
Yeah.
can to inform this individual of how things are to be done and not done. That's the best I can do. Yeah.
Angela Jameson, again, I mean, one thing that does concern me, whether or not we ask for a new plan or not, is whether the homeowner now fully understands that work may not proceed without a permit, because he had already met with you, Miss Wilson. You had explained what was going to be required permit-wise. Nonetheless, he proceeded to have a contractor whom he didn't know, and he knew nothing about this guy's credentials. He proceeded to allow that person to come in and do substantial work on his property. So I'm just a little concerned that he might go ahead one day and do the grading of the lawn without coming back for a permit.
Well, it's not only that, he may go next door to the applicant and do the same thing and keep doing this. I mean, he's got to be told.
Well, no, this isn't the contractor. I'm
not the
concerned. I'm
contractor.
concerned that the homeowner
Homeowner.
may not fully understand the requirement to obtain a permit for work that is in the wetlands or in the upland review area.
I can I can only say in my month or two being on this particular project, since it was brought to my attention, I have had good communication with the property owner. We had a meeting at the house, in the living room, at the dining room table, with the homeowner, with Barbara, sort of going over a lot of this. He has been very compliant now that he has been made aware that these are activities that cannot take place unless you get prior approvals. You know, I can do the best I can. They will get an actual copy of the license that gets issued, or the permit that gets issued. I imagine, you know, if you adopt the special condition, Barbara will have to continue to stay engaged in the project and oversee, you know, compliance, any compliance issues. And yeah, I think we have his attention at this point.
Okay.
So you know, best I can do.
Do other commission members have a view on Commissioner Stepanik's suggestion that we should ask for a new set of plans?
Commissioner Redden, for the record, I don't think we need to, because all we're doing is deleting part of the plan. We're not putting a new plan forward. So I think,
Is it that easy just to delete it? Is there anything in the plan we keep that needs to be changed at all? You know, I haven't seen the plan, but I think you need to.
I
Just to
think we
make
have,
sure we're talking about apples and apples and
Right.
oranges and oranges. You just don't get it mixed up in there. But if you don't, you don't. You don't need it, you don't need it.
I think Barbara Wilson, as the person that's been hired, and her resume and background, working with Director Holland, are going to make sure, I think asking that Barbara Wilson remain on this project is a proper special condition. I don't think that we need to see a new plan, because we're just not doing part of the plan. So the permit will only be issued for the plan, that's the parts that are being done.
I believe Miss Wilson had a hand up. She'd like to add something. Please go ahead.
So it's very easy for me to edit this plan because it's on AutoCAD. All I do is grab certain things, delete it, and then I could make a revision with just the items you want. So it won't take me more than 15 minutes. So if you think that that would be helpful for any of the people who are looking for that, I could offer that.
Yeah,
It's not, if she's offering
Yeah.
to do it.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's a good suggestion, Barbara. Yeah.
Yeah, I would concur. Any additional comments? Any further special conditions? If not, could I hear a motion, please?
Commissioner Redden, for the record, I would make a motion that application IW 2524, with the special condition put forward by Director Holland, and the new plan submitted by Barbara Wilson, landscape architect, be approved.
I second the motion.
Thank you. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So that permit is approved unanimously. Thank you very much indeed, Miss Wilson.
Thank you.
Very good. So moving on now to item 11, application IW-25 IW-25-25, 92 Turtleback Road South. Manor Ridge LLC, install wood walking bridge over existing brook, construct raised boardwalk path through wetlands, add wood chip path outside of wetlands, hand remove invasive plants and revegetate with native wetland and upland plant material within and around wetland area. The agent is Paul Fusco of Lewis Fusco Landscape Architects. So thank you very much, Mr. Fusco, for attending, and we'll like to listen to your presentation.
I forgot to mention that mic in front of you, make sure it's green. So press that center button there. There you go. And now you're ready to go.
My name is Paul Fusco. I'm a licensed landscape architect here on behalf of the clients of 92 Turtleback Road South. A little bit of a duplicate similar to the project you heard just a little bit ago, but yes, we are here The clients have owned the property for a few years now and own the adjacent property as well. And throughout both of them, they have some walking trails and paths. We originally brought in for a combination of looking to enhance their view of the brook that runs through the property from north to south across here, with this hillside that comes down as they come down the driveway, as well as continue the walking paths they currently have on the property. As part of the initial meetings with the client, we informed them about the wetlands and all the invasive species, a lot of Japanese stilt grass, there's barberry, there's poison ivy, and, you know, relatively invasive. It's there, as similar to most of the projects in wetland areas, that has been overgrazed by deer for many years. There is now a deer fence on the property as well, was put in a few years ago as part of the initial work done on the property. And now the revegetation is starting to happen a little bit naturally. And this new phase is proposed to remove invasive species by hand in the wetlands and replant with numerous trees, shrubs, and perennials. Associated with that is a bridge over the stream in this area here. That didn't work. Hold on. There you go. Bridge over the stream embankments. It's a roughly 30-foot long bridge to cross and anchor properly on the two side slopes. We have proposed boardwalk through the wetland area, and in the review area is where it's a proposed gravel walkway that runs back up and through the driveway to loop back around. And they have a nice loop on this property that then connects back to their other trail systems as well. We're proposing about 52 trees, 150 or so shrubs, and 500 and something perennials, calyxes and ground covers, or grasses, sedges and ground covers, with hand removal of numerous small woody shrub material and invasive perennials. There are no trees being removed. We had recently just completed some dead tree removals as part of work with Kathy and an approval work that was completed. I know during the site visit, there were evergreen trees that are proposed on this plan that were planted shortly after that tree removal. As similar to the last project, the contractor was unaware of taking that next step to hand plant in the new evergreens. So we informed them to hold on that before any of the other tree work done until the official permit was completed. But they are the trees that are shown on our plan. We're hoping to get approved tonight with this application. So you can get a better sense of the bridge. Oh, sorry. We're coming over with a wood bridge system that comes over the stream. These are the anchoring points with a concrete pier post supports. This is the boardwalk with, in conversations with Kathy, of looking to try and minimize the disturbance within the wetlands. Anything by hand, we're using a diamond pier system, which minimizes machinery or anything within the wetland area that they will be using for both of these applications for anchoring systems. And then this is the proposed bridge, is renderings from a timber company that the bridge comes in and gets assembled on site into the area for any of that. Oh, that's exists for any questions? I believe that covers the general scope of the project.
Questions from the commission? Commissioner Redden?
Yes, Commissioner Redden, for the record. So the trees that were planted, that were part of the plan, that were planted before the permit, who planted those?
That's the homeowner's landscape contractor that maintains and manages the property. Yep.
And the homeowner is a builder, property developer?
Correct.
So I would assume that they would know that they needed a permit ahead of time.
Yeah, and that's why we had reached out. It was when this application was already submitted at the time, as well as the tree work had been approved by Kathy for the removals. So it was truly just a miscommunication between when it could start and not start. It wasn't everyone knew what was happening, that there was a process being taken place. I think they probably assumed that when we submitted, it was approved, kind of miscommunication in that sense, but they're all aware.
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I am again rather surprised that a contractor of someone who is himself in the property development business wouldn't have realized that you actually have to have a permit in hand before you start this work. What is the name of the contractor?
I don't have it with me. I mean, we can get that over to you, but like I said, we'd gotten approval for the tree removal, and I think it was just a miscommunication that with the tree removal approval to do that work didn't include the planting work that's associated.
But everybody knew that no permit had been given. For a permit, you have to come before the Inland Wetland Commission. Director Holland provides permission to go ahead and deal with dead trees. Is that correct? But everybody who's in the business or has been a resident in New Canaan for any length of time knows that you have to get a permit to do the plantings. Sounds to me like it's a little more than just a miscommunication.
I mean, that might be you think, but that's what we've talked to them and done is with being mentioned and approved to remove the trees. So given approval to remove the trees was the miscommunication, thinking that once you removed them, you could plant them. So that
But
was,
two completely different things. And any landscaper knows that removing a tree is very different from planting a tree.
yes, absolutely. I understand that moving a tree is different. That's why I'm saying there was a misunderstanding that with the removal of the tree, he was able to proceed with the planting. And we explained to him that while the main project of the bridge and pathway was what we were applying our application for, the wetland planting that's being proposed is the mitigation associated with that. And that is all encompassing, right? The boardwalk, the bridge, and the plantings is one unit. He was looking at it as the bridge, walkway, and the plantings were, or not, sorry, the bridge, walkway, and that pathway system was what the application is for, and the planting work wasn't particularly, excuse me,
Even though they were in the wetlands.
for the trees on the edge and the lower half of that.
Yeah.
I mean, Commissioner Redden, for the record, I just found it, I wonder if I hadn't pointed it out on the site visit, if it wouldn't have been pointed out at all.
Yeah, good
I don't know if
point.
Director Holland has any thoughts or comments, but
I think Paul came along and stopped them
Yeah.
from continuing with additional planting. I feel there's a lot of moving parts at this site or with additional site that they own. So they have a lot going on. I'm not making excuses, but truly, I did ask him for an explanation as to what happened and why it happened, because it was noticed on the site visit. So unfortunately, they got ahead of themselves. They did not continue once he said, I'm applying for everything as a whole, and it includes the new installation of plantings. So
I would just say there's a difference here between this case and the last one that we just discussed, in the sense that it was immediately brought to the attention of Director Holland and therefore the commission that a violation had occurred, that somebody had undertaken work for which they didn't have a permit. As Commissioner Redden has just pointed out, if he hadn't noticed on the site visit that plantings had recently occurred in the wetlands, we wouldn't have known about it.
yeah, I agree with that statement. I would have liked to know in advance of the site visit, or even when you came in to meet with me about the boardwalk, that, hey, I've identified some activities that have taken place, and I don't know when they took place. I do appreciate that kind of communication. Yeah, okay.
Understood. I mean, we weren't trying to hide anything. We were meeting to go over and do the site walk. We knew everything was happening. I don't think anything was trying to be hidden. Everything was completed by hand for that planting is what it was. They had shown photos of the work that was done. So it was something as from our end, if we were brought in as just a violation, we would have explained the same kind of things, that these were done by hand. The disturbance was minimal, if any, to the wetlands, to the understory area, and looking at a benefit bringing in native trees to the understory.
Commissioner Redden again. I also look at the pathway, gravel, or at one point I heard chips and then I heard gravel. So you got a pretty steep grade coming down from the driveway down to the brook. I'm not so sure that's gonna stay there if we have a big storm. That material might make its way straight down into the wetlands and into the brook again.
We are proposing a small kind of boulder natural stone wall along that edge of the pathway to help stabilize that edge in that space. And there are proposed plantings along all sides of it to help stabilize. So there's this vegetative understory is getting planted throughout here with, like I said, about 553 perennials throughout this space to help stabilize and manage all any of the loose soil or anything like that.
I mean, the wall was pointed out on the site visit. It was just going to be a gravel pathway, but I guess that's in the permit.
Oh, is this he just had can you go back to the detail that you have for the boulders on the downhill side? It's
On the downhill
it's
side,
kind of
yeah.
a small image there, but
On the
actually,
bottom right?
but if you go up to where it's coming off the driveway, I think that's where Mr. Redden is talking about. It is a steep slope off that driveway existing. So they are proposing to put, if you look at his, see those circles?
Got
That's large boulders that would hold that slope because they have to put the path in. So actually, we had talked about that when we had our pre-application meeting, that you'd have to do some boulder work in that area because of the steep slopes.
And it's all going to be done by hand.
It is all going to be done by hand. Yep.
Right.
Yeah, everything's going to be done by hand.
Thank you.
Other questions?
No.
I just have a couple of additional questions.
Sure.
The wood chips that you're using for the path, where are they coming from?
They don't have any trees. The trees that were removed, everything was pulled out, so they'll be bringing in wood chips.
Okay, very good. And I took a look at the picture of the bridge. Seems very large.
It's 30 feet, so we can
Yeah.
crest over the whole embankment because it is steep. It's a steep slope in that area.
Do you mean wide or bulky or?
I mean both. I mean,
Yeah.
it just seems like a big thing,
It's
Um,
it is if you've been to the style of the house, we're kind of playing off with the architecture and the styles around. So it is a timber structure to match, similar to the main house, and there's a horse barn and greenhouse that has a lot of exposed wood and timber. So it's playing off those styles.
well, exposed wood is very attractive, but I'm just wondering whether a smaller bridge would have done what it needs to do, and whether it would be less invasive and less impactful on the wetlands.
So understand the concern on that. What happens is, because you can see the span here of the main water body in the system, we needed to span a certain distance and trying to pull those footings as far as possible away from the stream edge and right on the embankment. And to make those spans, we needed larger, these wood 8 by 20-inch wood timbers, so that they don't break or flex or have any issues without bringing metal or steel work into the wood. So doing wood, we need to have a larger profile than using metal. And that's to create that span so we're not in the stream with the supports.
Mm-hmm.
If we were to shrink it or downsize those members, then we would be looking at some type of center support, which then gets in the streamway. So we were trying to get outside of any of that. So I think it's 6 one, half a dozen the other. We could definitely downscale some of that, but I think that's then creating more of an impact to the wetlands versus this structure that's, let's call it, floating over everything, and we can avoid that a little bit.
Okay. Any additional questions?
Yeah, this is Dan Stepon. Do you get a lot of water down in there?
On a regular basis, no.
No?
During some of the larger storm events, this is kind of the end of the line for the Oak as well as Turtleback on the uphill side and the back. So during some of those larger storms, they have their driveway bridges over the walkway with, I can't remember it off the top of my head how big that culvert is, but that kind of creates the bottleneck for all of it, if there is one. And sometimes it will spill over the driveway. And from the neighbor's property over here, there's a riprap apron that's been existing for a number of years that kind of eroded in this space on the 100-year storms we've been getting every few years. And only in those times, the stream does elevate about 2 feet or so. And that was part of, actually, Kathy had brought that up in our initial conversation to make sure that we're clearing the kind of high water mark. So we took measurements off of the existing stones there. So these are 1 foot contours. So that 2 foot contour line, we're kind of just on the edge of where we're proposing any of those piers for the supports. Hope that, does that answer?
So as far as any special conditions are concerned, Director Holland?
I had two. I haven't thought of any more as we're sitting here, hearing the presentation. The first one would be upon completion of landscaping activities, the landscape architect shall inspect and provide a final report confirming compliance with the wetland permit. And the second one, because we do have permanent structures in this area, that they would provide upon completion of the trail system, submit an as-built.
Very good.
Can you do a site visit, you as the director, after to check?
Okay, that's what. I do, we'll do multiple site visits during construction, and then the applicant, once they receive our wetlands permit, when they finish the job, they turn in something called a statement of compliance. I then go out and do a final inspection, but prior to that, I'll get his report saying plants look good, it's been done in compliance. I then go out and check it again. Yep.
Very good. Would anybody like to make a motion? Well, this is Angela Jameson. I'll make a motion to approve the permit subject to the 2 special conditions as explained by Director Holland.
Commissioner Redden will second.
All those in favor, please raise your hand, say aye. Aye. Thank you. So the permit's approved unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time this
Have a good
evening.
evening.
Just hit that mic off. Okay, not bad for your first presentation with us. You survived.
Thank you.
Very good. So item number 12, application IW-25-26, 95 Country Club Road, the Country Club of New Canaan, make improvements to the existing 18th hole and driving range. The reconstruction of the 18th hole includes regrading, adjustments to the tee and green locations, and reconfiguration of the cart paths. The driving range tee will be enlarged, the range will be regraded, and a new range net will be installed. The existing greenskeeper's house will be demolished, and the associated septic system and underground utilities will be abandoned. A new practice area will be constructed in place of the greenskeeper's house. And there will be a removal of approximately 260 cubic feet, I guess, of an existing gravel driveway and the integrated areas into the 18th fairway. So the agent is Tom Nelson of McCord Engineering, and it looks like we have 4 representatives here for the country club. So good evening, everybody.
Angela, can I interrupt for a moment? Do I need to recuse myself if I'm a member of the New Canaan Country Club?
If you feel there is a conflict there, or there might be a perceived conflict of interest, then I agree that, you know, recusal is the right way to go.
Okay.
So if you'd like to remove yourself for this this particular application, and then we can let you know when item 12 is through, and maybe you can rejoin us for the remaining portion of the meeting. Would that work?
Sure, I'll leave and yes, I'll wait for a text or something.
And we'll send you a text.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Okay, but thank you.
Good evening, members of the commission. My name is Steve Finn. I'm an attorney representing the applicant here. With me tonight are Bill Kenny, the inland wetland scientist for the project. To my right is Steffi Loomis, the current president of the country club. To my left is Steve Slagle, the outgoing president of the club, who has been shepherdizing this project basically since its inception. Also with us tonight is Mike Rowe, who is the golf superintendent at the Country Club of New Canaan. Absent with us tonight is Tom Nelson, who is away. I think between the five of us, we're very optimistic that we'll be able to present this application fully and answer all your questions. The order of presentation is going to be that Steve Slagle is going to address you briefly, and then Bill Kenny is going to take you through the project in detail and talk about the inland wetlands and watercourses. The only thing I have before turning it over to Mr. Slagle is I do want to state for the record that the town engineer, Maria Koplik, has signed off on this project. She got the drainage summary on June 4th, and she has no issues with that. So in terms of engineering and drainage, I think we're in good shape. So having said that, Mr. Slagle.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to just try to give you very briefly a little context around this project that we're proposing. This represents the last phase of a significant renovation project that we started at the Country Club back in 2018. This particular phase is intended to improve the driving range, increase its size and safety, and restore the 18th hole to its original design. So there's some historical authenticity. Context on the renovation project, if you go back to 2014-15, the Country Club of New Canaan was in pretty serious trouble. We had declining membership, aging membership, and consultants in the country club business told us that our facilities were so inferior that we were not going to be able to generate demand. And as a result, we should expect to be financially insolvent in fairly short order. So we did undertake the renovation. It included a new clubhouse. We moved the pool, a new pool house, significant new dining facilities, and then a golf course master plan, which took a lot of trees down, renovated the project, or renovated the golf course, and turned it into something that was competitive with golf courses in the area. This is the last phase of that. To date, our renovation project's been very successful. We have a full membership and a wait list, and so the project has worked. So the country club can continue to be a thriving part of the community for at least the foreseeable future. I'd cite three specific things as we consider this. One is safety. The current driving range we have is limited in size because we have limited land, and the trajectory of balls hit there do frequently go into the holes, the first and second holes, and endanger people. Part of this is to bring the tee back, lengthen the range, and improve the netting and safety. So we think see a significant decline in that. The second is September is a critical date for us. There are really not very many reputable golf course construction firms and designers. We have Andrew Green, who is a preeminent designer and designed the rest of the course, and Labar, which is the preeminent golf course construction firm, both available in the fall of 25. If we don't use them then, they've both told us that it's at least 2027 before they're available again, just because of their calendars. And then Mike can speak more to this later, but if we start the project in September, we're going to be in a position that we could actually put the sod down in November, and it can take, so that we'll have a winter for the sod to actually begin to take, and we can play on it in the spring. More important, if we don't start in September and we have to delay, we won't be able to sod it, and it would be an open construction site, at least through the winter. Anything I left out? Okay. So that's the context for what we're doing. I just wanted you to understand that.
And before I turn things over to Bill, I do want to let the commission know that because of the amount of excavation and fill that's going to be moved for this project on the property, we do need an excavation fill permit from the Planning and Zoning Commission. So we have a pending application for special permit with them. Again, it's about 11,500 cubic yards of soil that's going to be moved, but it's going to be a balanced site. So no soil is going to be taken off, and no soil is going to be imported for this project. There is going to be an import of approximately 2,500 cubic yards of sand and gravel that's necessary to rebuild the traps, some of the tees, and some of these greens. But other than that, no soil is coming off the property or being brought to the site. And with that, Bill, I'll turn it over to you.
Good evening. Bill Kenny, Principal of William Kenny Associates of Fairfield, professional wetland scientist, soil scientist, and landscape architect. Nice to see everyone. We were hired to help with this project, working closely with McCord Engineering, Tom Nelson, and developing this plan in a way that we believe balances the needs of the country club as well as the needs of an agency like yourself and the environment and protecting the wetlands and water courses. So what I'd like to go through with you is some brief description of existing conditions, and then get into the proposed improvements, and then look at how that relates to the wetlands and water courses on the property. I think when you look at it, the big picture, that the improvements are pretty much substantially in the same location where there's existing improvements. Some things are a little bit closer and some things are a little bit further, or if you're in one spot or another, you might be a little closer, a little further from a wetland. But for the most part, it's in areas that are already developed and just shifting some things around. And there's been opportunities to do things to improve water quality, which I'll go over with you as we go through this. Try to get my presentation over here.
At your screen now on the.
Who can see? Let me see. Maybe. Oh, maybe. I'm gonna exit out and come right back in. Reason. Okay. All right. Moving in to a closer view, we had the view of the golf course itself. As been discussed, there's 3 primary areas of improvements. There's the driving range, there's and the driving range is right here. There's hole 18, which is right here. And then there's an existing residence in the middle of the course that where Mike Rowe lives as the golf course superintendent. And there's work proposed in that area, a short play area that's proposed there. There's wetland systems on the site. There's a wetland system that comes down the west. You have this stream with a small pond here that comes into the irrigation pond down through the center. A small stream that comes down this way. And then there's an isolated funny little isolated wetland pocket here that's left over with the development of the property many years ago. So I don't know why. Blocking. This is a partially colored rendering of the site plan that McCord Engineering put together. And it shows the proposed improvements and where the existing box is here. That area
Driving range, yeah.
The T,
Yep.
the driving range T, that area is being expanded and being pulled back towards the clubhouse. And then there is I'll try something different. There's the exact site development plans that were submitted for the application. That wetland there, and then the stream corridor that comes down here. And we have the 18th or the driving range that's being expanded. And also some improvements there are replacing of the existing range netting that goes around the perimeter of that. And it was discussed with regard to the proposal to objective to improve safety. So that's going to be replaced and expanded in some areas. And then immediately west of that is the existing residence that includes the house, a detached garage, a driveway, walks, sheds, septic system, and all of that is proposed to be removed. And then to put this short play, proposed two practice screens with some bunkers associated with that, and have a short play area. Currently, the short play area is south of the driving range, closer to the clubhouse. And the proposal is to, as we talked about, was to pull the driving range back so it impacts into that area. So this proposed improvements call for removing that house and putting the short play area in this location where the house is. And a number of things that are proposed with this are to collect some of the water and put it into some water treatment facilities. Also, there's a significant reduction in impervious surface, which helps water quality. There is approximately 7,000 square feet of reduction in impervious surfaces from the removal of the house, some cart paths. And so that's a great improvement right there. Right there, you start to reduce the potential for pollutant loads. But where Tom Nelson worked closely with the town engineer, Maria Coplet, and she had suggested collecting some water from a parking area for carts that is proposed at the south end of the range T, and collect that water and put it into a rain garden. So that rain garden is proposed here at the just west of that range T and south of the that pocket wetland. And the pocket wetland is actually upstream of this area. So this rain garden the water be directed to this and will be filtered through the vegetation and the soils in this area to clean it. And then there's a under drain from that takes the water and pipes it south below the fairway for hole 18. And then at the short play area, there's some modification to the existing drive there and some additional parking there for some golf carts. We're gonna take the water from this area as well as the cart path that comes down and direct that into a water quality swale along the edge of that cart path. That cart path today is curbed and the water just flows down along the curb, and then at the very end where it gets to the stream at the western end, it just dumps right into the stream. So we're going to have it run into the swale early on and run through that swale, which I believe is about 100 linear feet of vegetated swale to help clean that water. So there's a significant reduction in impervious surface, and then there's where there are some new impervious surfaces, we're collecting the water from those surface areas and directing it to these water treatment areas. There's some buffer improvement work, which I'll show on a different drawing shortly. This is west of the area that I was just showing you. It's a match, there's a match line on the left-hand side. Here's the irrigation pond that's here. Water course that comes up here, and the 18 fairway is here. The house that's being removed is over here. So there's some configuration of the tee boxes here for the 18th hole. Again, this is all in areas that are already maintained as lawn. And there's some reconfiguration of the tee box for hole 3, which goes out that way. And there's an existing cart path here that's being removed, and some other minor modifications to the cart path through here. The project is proposed to be phased with the start date of this September has been discussed, and there's 4 separate phases have been identified. The idea is for phases 1 and 2 to be completed this fall. And that would be hole 18, the majority of hole 18. We have these areas. Let me and then the driving range in hole 18 would be this fall. I think one thing that's interesting with this golf course work, as opposed to other development properties that you see, is that when it comes to stabilization, the use of sod on nearly every surface is really of great benefit to the wetlands and water courses, because you get this that immediate and complete stabilization very quickly and very extensive. So you can reduce the amount of potential for soil erosion significantly. Each phase 1 is about 5 acres in disturbance, and phase 2 is about 6.5 acres of disturbance. They'll be done sequentially, so they'll finish phase 1 and then they'll finish phase 2. And again, the idea is that would be done this fall before the cold weather for the winter sets in. And then phase 3 and 4, phase 3 being that short play area, and phase 4 just being one small area of hole 18 would be done in the spring. And those areas are, the practice area is about 1.2 acres, and the phase 4 is even a little bit smaller than that. I think it's under an acre. And it is designed to be a balanced cut and fill, so no import of fill or export of fill, and just the sand that's needed for bunkers and for drainage under greens and tees. This is a drawing that we prepared in my office, where we're showing some work within the wetlands and buffer areas, particularly in the areas adjacent to the short play area and the driving range. As you might recall, there's a stream that flows from northeast from the top of the page. That's west of the existing house, west of the short play area, flows northeast to southwest, and then again you have this small wetland area here. In red, we're showing the areas of the proposed house and walkways. You have the house and some walkways here, the driveway, the garage. And you can see the garage extends within the 50-foot setback. We have sheds in the backyard within the 50-foot backyard setback for the wetland. There's fencing here, there's range fencing that extends into the wetland here and within the 50-foot setback. So all of those improvements will be removed. The septic system will be removed, and that short play area will be constructed with the 2 greens and then some bunkers and some fairway adjacent to that you can play from that fairway area into the green areas. And then within the buffer, we're removing, in addition to removing some of the structures I mentioned, we're removing some lawn area and establishing a low maintenance meadow habitat. What's used quite a bit on golf courses are the fescue mix, which requires little to really no amendments. It's very drought tolerant. It requires virtually no fertilization. It's not fertilized. It's very slow growing, and it creates this low no-mow, what's often called a no-mow meadow. So it's very low maintenance, no pesticides and fertilizers. And so in these buffer areas, that type of habitat would be created. And those are the meadows that you see on the course today in many areas are these fescue mix meadow areas that are just a great filter and buffer, and again, doesn't require fertilization or pesticides and herbicides. So we're removing existing lawn to put that in some areas, and where there's existing woodland, we'd keep that, but basically this meadow area would be going in where we are removing current day improvements. Our plan also shows that rain garden that's proposed here, and in addition, there are particularly in this isolated wetland, there's quite a bit of debris in that area, and we're proposing to remove the debris, and we're proposing to remove invasive shrubs and vines. There's a fair amount of invasive shrubs and vines in there, and thin out, do some selective thinning of other vegetation to help open that area up and allow for ventilation, movement of air, and sunlight to come through and help improve that area, as well as to benefit the golf course improvements that are proposed. We call out on the drawing these different areas of improvement and list the different itemize the different ways that we believe we're improving the habitat in those areas. So it's called out for you to see. So with that really provides an overview of the project, the 3 areas that are proposed, the driving range, the short play area, the 18th hole, drainage improvements with the reduction in impervious surface and the addition of some filtration areas. And then with some, in this particular area where the house was and where the short play area is proposed, where we are close to some of these more natural wetland areas, we're proposing buffers and enhancements in those areas with the control of the invasive vegetation and planting of native vegetation or these fescue meadow areas to provide a good buffer between the golf course improvements and the wetlands and water courses. With the phasing that's proposed and the soil erosion sediment control that's proposed, it's for those reasons that we think that the project has been designed in such a way that the wetlands and water courses can be protected and the objectives of the club can be met.
Thank you.
Sure. Any questions?
Comment, Commissioner Redden, for the record. So I think the site visit was extremely helpful. And having been through all the materials that were submitted, I think, it looks to me like we're improving the wetlands. So not just what the club needs to do, but you're actually improving the wetlands doing it. So I think Kenny Associates has done a really good job. Site visit was extremely helpful.
Angela Jameson for the record. In fact, I was going to ask Mr. Kenny if he could speak to the quality of the wetlands currently and how that will be impacted by the improvements.
Sure. I think the nicest wetland area is that stream that's west of the house, but its west bank is the nicest habitat. That woodland that borders it on the west is quite nice. There's very few invasive vegetation in there. And that bank is mostly, I believe, natural. The bank on the house side, when they built that house, they really moved fill and made a steep area there down. And that's where there's more intrusions. I mean, the yard is closer there and there's a fence that goes out and gets closer. So this work is staying landward of the steep bank, recognizing that steep bank is there. So they're keeping the improvements away from that. And that, so I think on that side, that's a good thing. That isolated wetland is really has more problems with invasive vegetation. And it had more of a ash canopy, and the ash trees have died over time, and more sunlight has gotten in there, and the invasives are more vigorous and taken over that area more substantially. So there'll be more effort to focus there to control those invasives and improve that habitat. And the other areas are the wetlands themselves are quite limited to the west, where the pond is and the stream is and whatnot.
So the country club has been in situ since when? Maybe you mentioned it and I forgot.
I think it's been at its current site since 1893. The golf course is
1893. Okay. So turning back to Mr. Kenny, I am assuming that prior to 1893, the wetlands were probably more extensive than they currently are. So wetlands have a way of shrinking once development takes place, even if it's open land in the way that a country club / golf course is. Is there any risk in your professional view that with the developments that are now being proposed, we'll see further shrinkage of wetlands?
In my experience, there's a very low risk with a user like this compared to a homeowner. And particularly, you have well-defined plans, and once those greens are shaped and put in place, that I just don't, in my experience, I don't see that happening on properties like this. There's obviously we're commonly use demarcation features to mark a boundary if there's one area or another that you are concerned about, something like that.
Thank you.
Could you, this is Dan Stepani, could you give us a calculation of how many square feet of wetlands are going to be affected by this project? I mean, you got a 4-phase project that's going to start in September and then finish up next spring. About how many square feet would be affected?
There will be no work in the wetlands themselves except for vegetation management. So there's no earthwork or anything like that in the wetlands themselves. I don't have with me this evening, if you're asking how many square feet of wetlands are within the project area, I don't have that number. It's probably on your application form. We might have, Tom might have put it on the application form. But there's no work proposed in the wetland other than cutting of invasive vegetation and maybe weeding invasive vegetation.
In the buffer area?
In the buffer, there is work proposed within the buffer, and it's primarily areas that are already golf course.
Already what?
Buffer
Part of
areas
the
that are
golf
already
course?
maintained as golf course.
Yeah.
Or have been developed as golf course. And some of it though is that residential house site. And includes like the shed, part of the garage. And those will be removed to restore the buffer in some cases and also create the short play area. In other cases.
Do you, maybe somebody knows, how many square feet of wetlands are on the golf course? Have you ever figured that out?
I don't have that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And for this project, we mapped the wetlands just in this location.
Right, right. So it's gonna be the wetlands, and the driving range, the 18th hole, and then the other is gonna be the house that's gonna be torn down.
Right,
in
those
that
three
whole area.
areas.
That's primarily where the wetlands are that you're gonna be working around, but they're gonna be protected, aren't they, the wetlands? That's the key thing. Nothing's gonna be destroyed.
Correct.
No wetlands are gonna be destroyed, is that right?
Yes.
My understanding is the only work within the wetlands is to remove invasive species.
Yeah.
And perhaps, I don't know how close the rain garden is to the wetlands, but
It's outside.
it's outside, but it's close, as I understand it. So that's a positive feature. I think to Commissioner Redden's point, I do think from reading the materials and listening to Bill and reading Tom Nelson's engineering report, that given that there's no work, invasive work in the wetlands and water courses, the creation of the rain garden, the enhancement to regulated areas, and the removal of impervious surface near the wetlands, that I think this is a net positive for the wetlands and water courses.
Director Holland, please.
Kathleen Holland for the record. Bill, you had mentioned that there are areas of lawn that are going to be made changed to a fescue mix meadow. I'm most interested in the area, and I don't know if you can bring it up on or zoom into it. East side of the irrigation pond, I think you're going to be having some slope changes there, and I'm wondering what is the final look of that area, and what is there any kind of no-mow, low-mow type? I don't know if it works with your design to get a little bit more of a vegetated buffer to that pond, and I don't know what the grass mix in that area. If you
Right.
could just go over that a little bit.
Right. I know there is a meadow, fescue meadow area there today that's probably 10 or 15 feet wide.
Yeah. It just move, if you could just move up.
This
Yeah,
is
so we could get
Mike
you.
Rowe for the record.
In that area where tee shots come into the 18th fairway, it gets a little tricky because people lose a lot of balls and it affects playability. So we try to keep the buffer low to the pond or tight to the pond.
Okay.
And allow for playability and shots in that area. But there's sections where we can increase the area between the pond and the fairway.
That's what I was really looking for from a lesson, any kind of applications that happen on the course itself, and give a little bit more of a water quality aspect to the pond itself as well. If that's a possibility, it doesn't affect anyone's.
Are we on the far side of the pond coming off the tee?
Yes, but we
Okay.
remove the road.
Right.
And the fairway comes down a little bit.
And part of the work will be to grade that
Grade out the
fairway a
road.
bit more, so it won't all roll back as much. So in theory, I think we probably could.
Yep.
Okay.
It just gets where the tees are now,
Mhm.
especially for the forward tees. If we increase the fescue too much, it gets more difficult for senior players to hit shots across the pond without going into the tall grass. So it's just, we just gotta strike a balance there.
Okay. So I would just ask you to maybe look at that area to see if there's a possibility of increasing a little bit more of a no-mow edge.
And that's a good point. that was made that currently there's a drive that comes through here, right through here, that goes up to the house.
Yep.
And because of that, you have to have a flat spot for the drive, so you end up
Right.
with a steeper area on the downhill. So that drive's being removed and it allows them to make it
Great.
less steep, which helps infiltrate more water, but also makes the play easier and an opportunity to widen that.
I think overall that is an improvement to that area by taking the driveway out.
Yes.
But if there's an opportunity to do some additional vegetative no-mow type application there, I would suggest that be looked into. I agree with Commissioner Redden. The site visit was extremely helpful. Appreciate everyone's time on that and making accommodations for us to be out there in the pouring rain or whatever. We'll come, rain or snow, right?
Oh, yes, we were very impressed that there were actually members out there
absolutely were.
playing golf.
So, you know, I've been working here in the town for quite a number of years, and I've been at this particular club for multiple applications over the years, and all the improvements that Mike Rowe and his team have made have really gone really in the right direction from, you know, a golf course with wetlands on it. To answer someone's question, like how many acres is the overall club? It's so 218 acres. If a quarter of it or 30% of it was wetlands, that might be a fair guess, possibly with the ponds included. So again, I've seen all of the iterations of the improvements that they've made over the years, and I'm happy that you're closing in on some of the final phases of the coursework, because I think those are the most impactful, potentially impactful. I'm also encouraged to hear from Mr. Schlegel that you have what sounds like the premier people designing, which I already know because he's done other work on the course, and then the crew that will be actually implementing the design. It's what they do. So that does make a difference in these projects. Overall, yeah, I only had one special condition. If you would like to hear it, or is there any other questions?
Well, any additional? Oh, please, Mr. Ramirez.
Thank you, Commissioner Ramirez. Just one question on the application. It states that the existing greenskeeper's house will be demolished and the associated septic system and underground utilities will be abandoned. That's different from removal. Or am I missing something there?
So the health department has specific requirements for how to abandon a septic system. So I'm not, if Tom was here, he could answer it. And Kathleen probably knows.
Putting my very old health department hat on many years ago. So abandonment is a typical term. They will pump and crush the tank or any tanks that are on the project. In this case, with the work that they're doing, they're likely to even take out the piping and any trenches that might be present. So it will be completely neutralized before they go into the next phase of a T or whatever that area is going to be used for. That's all done through the health department. So they actually have to obtain a permit to abandon the septic system. So they will do all that through the health department. Sanitarian Gino did review the plans, was part of our land use group that reviewed the initial plans coming in. Health department had no further comments because all of the activities that are being done for the renovations at the club are not interfering with existing septic systems, and they would get the permits they need for abandonment.
Thank you.
Any additional questions? If not, I'd like to hear the special. Oh, Attorney Finn.
No, I was going to turn it back to Ms. Holland to hear.
Yeah,
her proposed
absolutely.
Condition.
Yes. So the one special condition, similar to some of the other applications we had tonight, upon completion of landscaping activities, landscape architect - soil scientist shall inspect and provide a final report confirming compliance with the wetland permit. So again, they are doing some landscaping components to this project. I've seen all the work they do up there. It's always fantastic. So I don't have any issues with it, but I think I'm not a plan expert, so I do rely on the consultant to provide that final report. In addition to that, I think one thing that we might think about, this is going to be a fast-moving project, but we typically would like to meet with your contractor, sort of a pre-application meeting, just make sure everyone's on the same page, and probably do a soil erosion control inspection prior to them starting to move real fast. So those are the other things that came to mind as we were listening to the project presentation tonight.
Very good, thank you. Would anybody like to make a motion?
Commissioner Redden, for the record, make a motion to approve application IW 25-26 with the special conditions put together by Director Holland.
I second the motion.
Thank you. All those in favor, please raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
So the application is approved unanimously. Thank you so much to all of you for
Thank you very
coming on
much.
this evening.
Ask your handicaps. I don't know what it means, but I don't know what it means. I'm going to learn one of these days when I retire. Golfing. Okay, I imagine it is.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. So we should text Katie. Do you want me to do it? Shall I do it? I would like to suggest we just take a 5-minute pause, if that is okay, before we move on to the next items, and to allow Commissioner Owsley to come back into the meeting. So if we could be back here by 9:27, that would be great. Thank you. Good. So we will resume the meeting of the Inland Wetland Commission, and thank you, Commissioner Owsley, for returning to the meeting via Zoom. So now we turn to the agent's report, administrative actions, and I'd like to begin by asking Director Holland just to give us an update on item 13, notice of violation, 93 Buttery Road, Michael Lowry, cease and desist, request to appear to discuss unauthorized activity.
In your packet, I did provide a notice of violation, a cease and desist that was issued to a property on Buttery Road regarding some activities being done at that property that were causing impacts to a neighbor's property. I do want to recognize that Attorney McCann and his client are here in the audience tonight to provide some additional testimony, I believe, regarding the problems that they're having with this particular neighbor doing an activity that appears to be requiring a permit to do what they're doing. So the history is in the record, and I did feel it was time to write after the neighbor had provided some evidence of the activity that was being done by the neighbor. I was able to then write the notice of a violation and send it. This has been a problem that has occurred in the past. I had sent a letter approximately a year ago regarding the same activity of damming up the watercourse and causing impact to the neighbor's property. And again, it seems to be happening again in 2025. So I do not know why this is continued to be done by the downstream neighbor. And I thought it was best to require the person to come this evening and explain what the activity is that they're doing, so that the commission can opine on what to do further with it. I did not hear back from the Lowrys. I don't have an email or telephone call from them. I have a return receipt signed by someone that someone received the letter, but I can't verify who that might be. I do want to just bring up, share my screen here, so I can give you a little better look-see of the area. So let me just see if I can get rid of some of this stuff here. I don't know if you can see my pointer there.
Yes.
So this is, Buttery Road is here. There's a long driveway that comes down and there's a flag lot in the back here. This is a Lowry property. And then this is the complainant's property at number 79. Number 93 is where the complaint is originating from. This is a GIS image. What I just want you to notice on this GIS image is that if you look at this elevation 220, so 220 elevation runs all the way around through both properties. So it's flat and level through this particular area. So there is an activity occurring at the outlet of this pond that is being done by the Lowrys by putting in some kind of board or structure across the water flow that then has caused the water to back up onto 79's property. So that's the substance of the complaint that, roughly speaking, that they have provided and given me some evidence of this activity being done. In my records, I have no permit that allows that type of activity to occur. I was hoping Mr. Lowry would come this evening and give us a further explanation as to why he's doing this activity, but I didn't hear from him. The second thing I just wanted to show is Mr. McCon has provided, Attorney McCon has provided a video, which I did send to you. This is not the best video, but I'm going to play it for those of you who didn't get a chance to see it. Let me just see here if I can make this bigger.
This is Angela Jameson. For the record, just like to note that neither Mr. nor Mrs. Lowry are in the room this evening and have not joined us by Zoom.
Correct.
Here we are.
Yeah.
Amazing that that was captured on video.
The video, the date on the video is April 23rd, 2025. It appears to be someone putting some kind of device in the dam, the outlet structure of the neighboring property. And I believe the complainant can verify that that's what the video is of. So
There were
and,
two videos, were there?
there is a second one. It's not that great. I don't think that the second video is virtually the same thing. Yeah, it's virtually the same thing, and it's not a great quality, but there is a second video virtually showing the same thing. So if you wanted to hear from.
Yep. So thank you very much, Director Holland. So Attorney McCann, and I'm sorry, your name is?
Mariolina.
Mariolina.
Rossetto, I'm sorry.
So thank you. If you would like to tell us the problem from your perspective,
Yes.
that would be helpful. Thank you.
Can I start by just handing out some exhibits? I have a couple pictures I'd like just. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Brian McCann. I'm an attorney with Zabel Schellenberg. I represent Ms. Dorsetta. She is at 79 Buttery Road. Ms. Dorsetta contacted me about a year ago with this problem, very, very close to a year ago, with this problem that she's facing, which is water inundation on her property. She, at that time, asked me, what can we do? And I did speak to Ms. Holland at the time, but what I advised her is that if we believe that this is an inland wetland violation, that we're going to have some proof that somebody is doing something, a regulated activity without a permit, which she didn't have at that time, but she has taken up that cause in the last year to the nth degree. So when I met with her again this year, I really was forced to do something about it because she did exactly what she was told. By way of quick background, the Silvermine Brook flows, I believe, south down underneath Buttery Road. It's an old culvert. It looks like a stone culvert, probably some age to it. Underneath Silvermine, it flows, underneath Buttery, it flows and collects into a pond that's in the front of 79 Buttery Road. Then from there flows into somewhat of a defined channel down into 93 Buttery Road. And 93 Buttery Road, it empties into a pond. The pond appears to have a island in the middle of it. And then from there flows underneath a driveway culvert. And I believe empties into another pond. So there are a series of ponds, and those three are not the only three on that block. There are at least 5 or 6 ponds. And I believe it's a family member that owns the property to the south of Mr. Lowry, and they share a driveway. It looks like a shared driveway. As Ms. Holland has said, there's very little topography to that stream channel. I collected several of the pictures. There were dozens and dozens, so I didn't want to inundate you with pictures, but the pictures that I did pick out show a few things. Number one, they show and by the way, the dates are on the back of each photo. They show a fluctuation of water level that does not appear to coincide or relate to storm events or inundation of water from the watershed. So it appears that there's something that is impacting the level of the water. This is an older photo, the black and white with the flooding, but it does give you an idea of not only the elevation, and you're looking, in case you're wondering, you're looking south, so that's looking directly down the stream towards 93 Buttery, and you could see from the picture that there's not a lot of drop in the stream channel. So I think that's one of the reasons why this is so impactful on Ms. Torcetta's property. Basically, what's happening is somebody at 93 Buttery Road is installing some kind of board or piece of steel into what appears to be a notched weir that is impounding the water at least another. It appears to me that the piece of metal or wood is approximately 3 or 4 feet deep. I'm just judging off of the videos where Mr. Lowry is carrying the board over to the weir. It looks, on his body like 3.5 feet. So you're talking approximately a 3-foot level change when that's installed. What that's doing is it's backing the water up towards Ms. Torcetta's pond, and there are surrounding wetlands, and it's overflowing the stream bank, and it's going out onto her property, not just in the wetlands, but the whole property, the lawn area. That's eroding the lawn. That's causing damage to the property. It's threatening. There are on a portion, there's a stone wall that lines one side of the stream bank. The water is undermining that stone wall, which is causing damage. She's constantly replacing the soil. She's trying, to put crushed stone or gravel or something that will actually stay, and that's getting washed away as well. She's been experiencing this for quite some time, more than a year, even though that's when she started to collect the evidence. You could see the email from 2017 that was the first page of the exhibits that I sent out. In May of 2024, I believe Ms. Holland did send a letter to Mr. Lowry. It's not a notice of violation, but it's a letter that basically says, if you're impounding water, please be advised that that's a regulated activity. Without a permit, that would be a violation. Blocking the natural flow of the stream could cause significant impacts on the ecological balance of the surrounding wetlands. This type of activity on your property will cause a rise in the stream levels to a serious threat leading to a serious threat to the integrity of the wetlands and potentially causing harm to adjacent properties. The increase in stream levels is not only detrimental to the local ecosystem, but also poses risk of flooding and erosion, endangering both the environment and nearby residences. It appears that the activity has occurred post May 2024. As I said, she's collected evidence. The evidence has been in the form of video and picture evidence. She showed me the videos. Unfortunately, they were on what I would call a non-digital recording device. So I actually had to hold up my iPhone to record off of the screen on the non-digital recording device. So you see a very poor video quality there, but fortunately we do have a few good shots. This picture actually shows a clear view through the weir, and you could actually see the top of the driveway culvert, the semicircle, which is the top of what looks to be like a 24 or 36-inch pipe underneath the driveway. And then in the very following picture, you see a completely different scene. You could actually see, I mean, I think it's an excellent shot considering the distance, but you actually see the structure in place. You could see the two handles on the top. They're like horizontal lines. That's, I believe, the place where it's actually lifted out of the weir. And when you saw in the video, whoever was installing that, you saw them sort of put a couple that stood out to me. There were a couple like pushes after it was installed to kind of embed it in the sediment or whatever is at the bottom of that weir. So we believe that this is not only impactful to Ms. Torcetta's property and damaging her property, but we also believe that it's an inland wetland violation. If this had come through the normal permit channels, I think, likely what would have happened is the commission would have required some sort of engineering study or plan to show that it wouldn't impact these adjacent properties. That hasn't been done, so it is causing damage to the property. And we're hoping that the notice of violation could remain in place and perhaps some more severe enforcement action could be taken to help alleviate the problems on Ms. Torcetta's property. Do you have anything to add?
No, I just want to say thank you, first of all, to see me tonight. And I hope something can be done for my property. I've been there like 47 years. So I know the land very, very well. I love the nature and everything. My concern is I have 1 pound and then I have a second one with the trees. But some of the trees are dying because too much water sometimes, I got up and down. I have ducks, wood ducks, and sometimes now they're coming back anymore because too much water coming up and down, you know, the fish. I'm not perfect, I mean, you know, I'm trying to keep my nature correctly, you know, try to do the best I can. And Kathleen, she's very kind to me a couple of times to, you know, be patient and said, I need proof, but it was so hard for me to find any proofs, you know, but this time I got lucky. So I came to you guys and hopefully you can help me out with my property. That's all I have to say.
Well, thank you very much for being here this evening, Ms. Torcenta and Attorney
For seeing us.
McCann. Do commission members have questions for both or either of them? Oh, Commissioner Redden, please.
Yep, Commissioner Redden, for the record, just a couple questions. So you've been there 40 some odd years. Is this the person that we believe that's doing the violation? Are they new neighbors or have they been there for a long period of time?
They've been there about 20 years. Before the other neighbor, they were fantastic. This neighbor, I don't know. They're nice people. I don't know. I don't know them well, but
Has this been going on? So is this
long time on and off, the last 10 years, sir. The last 10 years, I've been patient and waiting. Maybe God will help me for something different, but nothing happened.
have you spoken to the neighbors?
No, we don't socialize much, you know, because I used to work so many hours, like 18, 19 hours a day. So the last few years now, the like 4 or 5 years, I focus more because I'm home with my parents. So
With the problems with the property and the water, have you reached out to your neighbor
no,
to ask him?
no, so I don't feel comfortable, to be honest with you.
But so you're coming to inland wetlands before asking the neighbor, because it might be, we generally say if there's a problem with neighbors in town, it's sometimes easier to say, hey, you shouldn't be doing this. Otherwise, because they might not know. I mean, it might be.
Well, they do know because they got a letter in May.
They know now.
2024. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they knew a year ago that it was
right
a problem. I mean, I could reach out to them.
Did you also, because Mr. Sakaro, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Mr. Sakaro, I reported to Mr. Sakaro originally before I met Kathy, and he knew about it, and he went to talk to them about the water. So we're talking about 11 years ago, 10, 11 years ago. Mr. Sakaro.
Right, you see where I'm.
So,
yeah.
If
I think Mariel's talking about our DPW, Department of Public Works employee.
yes,
It sounds
very
like that's
nice
who you're talking
man,
about.
yes. Very nice man.
Do you have any idea as to why
I have no idea.
this would be being done?
I
Okay,
have
just so
no
no, you have
idea.
no explanation from any family member that lives at that location
I
as
have
to
no
why they
idea.
do this periodic.
It from the photos, it looks like, you know, a lock or whatever. This has been there for a long time. And maybe they think that's the way to make the pond back up and they're not aware. So if you haven't, if somebody thinks this is in existence, hypothetically, and it exists for a reason, and I'm shutting it so that my pond gets bigger, I don't know that's good or bad. I don't know it's backing up into the neighbor's property unless the neighbor's spoken to me.
So they're very aware. They're fully aware of it because they drive through my property. The drive is coming through my property. So they see when the water goes up and down if they really want to.
Is there anything else other than this that's caused tension between you and your neighbor?
No, just the water source is a big problem for me for the water. You have to understand. Sometimes I have water even doesn't rain for 2 weeks.
Well, I understand there's a problem, and I understand that the water's backing up.
I don't know.
I think it's always a good bet before you come to the town or any authority on an issue with your neighbor, whether they built a wall on your property or by mistake. There could be some explanation or there could be a conversation.
There is no conversation between us at all.
I think there should be, is my point. That's all I'm going to say. And I think as an attorney, I probably would have said, have you spoken to your neighbor? And if the answer is no, not for 11 years, maybe it's a good idea to speak to the neighbor. And then if there's some other reason that they're not comfortable speaking to the neighbor, maybe the attorney can make the call before coming to the town. because this is clearly a problem. It might have been easily resolved. We don't know.
I got the impression from talking to your father that there was some interaction. I mean, I thought I heard some interactions about that occurred at the property line. I heard things about, you know, property stakes being removed. It didn't give me the impression that there was a really amicable sort of relationship environment here.
Important to know if there's, somebody doing something.
Yeah, that in
Purpose
concert,
is something
that combined
trying-
with the ignored warning letter, I wasn't hopeful at least that there would be a mutual resolution that could be worked out. But having said that, I certainly can reach out to
Right.
the neighbor.
So Angela Jameson, for the record, I think the important issue is that as of May 8th, 2024, the neighbor, Mr. Michael Lowry, was put on notice about the problem that was occurring by Director Holland, and his cooperation was requested in this matter. And it sounds from what you've told us and the pictures and videos that you've shown us that he hasn't cooperated. And consequently, Director Holland sent another letter, May 23rd, 2025, in which she ordered Mr. Lowry to cease and desist all damming or alteration of the natural flow of the water, and asked him to attend this meeting. Mr. Lowry is not present here, and clearly from your description of what has happened, that is having an impact on the ecology of the area, on the wetlands in Ms. Tomsetta's property. And that's something as a commission we need to take seriously and consider what steps should be taken. And I'd like to ask Director Holland to perhaps speak to what further steps might be. And I would just say it's rather frustrating that we're not able to hear Mr. Lowry's side of the story. It would have been nice had he appeared and told us what he was trying to achieve and what he's been doing and why he's ignored Director Holland's letters.
Just a couple clarifications on the photos. So my follow-up letter was sent, just want to look at the date on that. May
23rd.
23rd. This photo is May 2nd, 2025. So this one, oh, sorry, not that one. So the May 3rd, 2025, the one that clearly shows the sluiceway, that's prior to my letter. Since the May 23rd letter, have you had water fluctuation between May 23rd, let's say, and what are we, June 16th?
Well, the time he came to see my property, I was lucky enough, he saw the level of the water was very high, even though for 2 weeks almost it did not rain. Then on Saturday, which I was not aware was Saturday, I sent him a photo. In 2 hours, went down a couple inches the water.
Is that before or after May
Pictures.
23rd?
Yeah, that's why I took the pictures.
So it was before. So what I'm asking is, have you seen water fluctuation from, let's say, May 23rd until now?
Stabilized.
It's stabilized.
Since you sent the letter, I have to be honest, it's stabilized,
Okay.
but it's not as low like it's supposed to be. I think it blocks in some way. You know, it reached some level, I think it goes down, further down.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's not high as it used to be. But
Okay.
it's not low as
Okay.
it's supposed to be. I mean, like I said, Kathleen, welcome to come in my property and check it and see, you know, my door is open, so you can come and check.
Okay.
I need your assistance and see if I do something wrong. I don't know. I don't know what to do anymore.
Yeah. So we have a couple options from like enforcement point of view. I am an advocate for speaking with your neighbor, at least reaching out to try to make some headway in stopping this activity that's causing a problem and directing him to come and speak with me, if you're comfortable doing that. You know, if he has questions, he doesn't have to hear it only from you that you can't do what you're doing. Give him my card. I mean, I've tried to reach out, obviously. I've done a couple different things to try to be in contact with him, so unsuccessfully. I would like to see perhaps that happen first, to see where if you might make the final, you know, connection with this individual. If it does not go successfully, then I would say I would most likely engage the town attorney, go over the case with him, and then try to, you know, come up with, you know, next steps in our enforcement toolbox, should we need to do enforcement beyond having him stop doing the activity.
Do we have the authority to do a site visit and see the other person's property?
No.
No.
I have no right to go on his property. So that's why I needed them to provide the evidence.
Is it possible to see it from the road or from Miss Tobsetter's property? No.
That's
No.
part of the problem. It's a rear, you
There
can
is-
see it.
There is a
from
rock,
the
actually.
Persettas, probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can visualize it, yes.
Yeah, you
But
can
you can't-
definitely
You can
visualize it.
come in my property and check it out
Yeah.
if you
These
want to.
pictures are taken, obviously, from Mr.
Yeah.
Persetta's
Yeah.
property.
But will I see the person doing it at that, you know, no.
No,
probably
but you
not.
would actually see the gate.
Maybe
Yeah,
that's
no,
being-
no, I don't think I can see that.
Inadvertently fly over.
So, I mean, I think.
It's tough. I mean, part of the reason why we came here tonight is because I think it's just tough to try to, you know, observe the actual installation in the act. It seems to me completely random times, completely random days.
May.
I was very lucky.
Yeah, if there were a rhyme or reason, I
Very
think it would
lucky.
be a lot easier
Mhm.
to get that evidence.
How far is this thing that he's putting in? Sorry. Thank you. Commissioner Redden with a question. So from your property line to where this device is being put in to block the water, how far is that?
At least 200 feet.
Yeah, I would guess 200 feet through woodlands.
The Woodlands, she's
That's
right. She's right. She's right about that.
Okay.
But I don't know what to tell you. I'm just kind of disappointed, to be honest with you, that this has to carry on and on and on, you know. I've been tired. It's been years and years. I'm trying to help. I'm being patient, a lot of patience, and Kathleen too have been helping out. But I don't want to tell you. I don't think talking to these people, they will resolve the situation. I don't know why they're doing it, to be honest with you.
I appreciate what you're saying,
But
there's a
like you said-
process that the town has to follow, and there's a process that we recommend you follow. And while it's been years, I think talking to the neighbor would probably be the first step. And it would have helped us if you'd spoken to the neighbor 11 years ago, 2 years ago, last year. But if there's no communication with the neighbor, it's really he said, she said, and we have to speak to him. I don't disbelieve you. I understand. But there is a process.
I mean, I was hopeful in getting this letter out that he would actually appear tonight so we could get to the bottom of this, but
Those two.
but
yeah.
we haven't. Unfortunately, we're missing part of the equation, and it's frustrating.
Perhaps Attorney McCann can help you, Miss Torsetta, in reaching out and contacting your neighbor.
Let me ask you, are you concerned about his safety by talking to him?
No,
Or that has nothing to do with it?
no. No, I genuinely believe that after talking to them, she lives with her father. I spoke to both of them. I came to their house several times. They showed me around the property. There was a conversation I had with her father where there was some interaction with the neighbor. He told me that they had property stakes, survey stakes put up, at least one of which was removed, which is against the law. It didn't give me the impression that they ignored previous letters. It didn't give me the impression that it was going to be fruitful. I'm still happy to do it. I'm still happy to reach out. I'm not sure that one really has to do with the other. I mean, this is clearly an inland wetland violation. It's in the act. It's in the Inland Wetland Act. It says impounding water without a permit. I mean, I don't think there's any question that it's a violation. And then there's and then the civil action. I mean, we're going to pursue the civil action regardless of the way the town goes.
Why doing this? I mean, have you thought it way far out, but do you have any reason to believe he's doing this for more water, or he's building up his pond?
I imagine it is. Yeah, even her pond is very silted in. It's a gorgeous pond. But I said to her on the site, I mean, I imagine at some point that was probably 5-6 feet deep. I want to say on average, it's probably 1.5 feet, 2 feet deep as it presently sits.
Which is true.
I'm sorry? Mr. Torsettis. And I would imagine that the downstream property is probably suffering from the same sort of siltation. I mean, it might even be that the island in the middle was caused by a certain level of siltation over the number of years. So I would imagine, if I had to speculate, that it's to make a more aesthetic pond. You know, if you add 2 feet to the pond, you're not gonna see the weeds coming through. It's going to look more aesthetic, I would guess.
Are you saying his pond needs to be dredged? Is that what you're saying? And that's why he's adding the water?
No, all I'm saying is that I would imagine that if someone had one of two choices, to have a shallow pond that looks, more resembles like a wetland than a water course, than a water body, that they would probably prefer the aesthetic of a water body with 4 feet versus 2 feet of water in it. That would just be my guess, but
well, it seems to me there needs to be a discussion with Mr. Lowry, and it can take place in a number of different in a number of different forums. And I think that it sounds as though there is a negative impact on the wetlands in Ms. Torsetta's property, and that's something that we should take seriously as an Inland Wetland Commission. So there needs to be a discussion as soon as possible. So maybe I'm going to throw this out. We follow both tracks simultaneously. We ask you, Ms. Tomsetta, to reach out to your neighbor and to try to have a constructive conversation about this. Go and knock on his door. Call him up if you have the telephone number.
No, I don't have phone number. I don't have.
I could write a letter.
Yeah, I mean, you can.
Or ask me, or Attorney McCann to go with you if you don't feel comfortable talking to him on your own. But I would say at the same time, we should follow up with the town attorney to figure out what next steps could potentially be, because there is an issue about this if he's no longer doing it, but then there's the risk that he could do this again in the future. So it's a tricky situation. So my suggestion would be is we follow both tracks simultaneously. Do other commissioners have a point of view on this?
No, I agree. I mean, you got to communicate. I mean, that's your communication. There hasn't been any, so it's broken down. And I think you got to start there before we can do much from this end, really.
I mean, I personally don't think one has to do with the other, but I'm happy to reach out to the neighbor. I'm happy to do that.
There's been a violation and we're going to take action on our side.
No, thank
We're
you.
recommending.
I'm going to follow your advice, but I agree with my attorney.
I will write a letter. That's not.
Well, a letter is not talking to somebody. And if I got a letter from my neighbor's attorney, I would probably get my backup. If my neighbor came and knocked on my door, whether I have a good or bad relationship, I'm kind of forced to listen. And if that person is then not appropriate, that gives you, more cause. right? We will do what we need to do. It's a wetlands violation. You're correct. One doesn't have anything to do with the other than the root of the problem, which is just logical and being a good neighbor.
But Ms. Tosetta, could I ask you why you don't want to reach out personally to your
Well, I
neighbor?
had a very not good feelings a couple of times with them, and the interaction I had, it was like
You've had interactions with them that were not pleasant.
comfortable. And just an example, like a year ago, their dog came in my property. Beautiful two dogs. They're kind of cute little puppies there. They came in my property. I was doing some cleaning my lawn, and this car came into my driveway. And I see this lady open the door and call the dog, which I guess was the owner of the dog. She didn't even say hello to me. She didn't even say, like, she came in, didn't apologize, took their dog and walked out from my property. That was the last time I have interaction with them. I just I don't feel comfortable at all. I have to be honest with you. It's something that and honestly, I've been there. You can ask other neighbor people. I mean, I have no problem whatsoever, but there is something about them. I sense something not comfortable about. I know we are going to try, but it's not going to work for me. I don't feel comfortable at all. I'm sorry, Mr. Redden, you know, I know you do your job, but I have to follow what I feel about my heart, you know. I don't feel comfortable. There is something about it, and there is something, and I don't feel comfortable.
We're not asking you to do anything you're not comfortable with. We're making the recommendation that talking to neighbors is more the norm, or at least should be, and it used to be. That's all I'm going to say.
Good. So I think we have a plan. You are going to, Ms. Tomsetta, you with the help of Attorney McCann will reach out to your neighbors to discuss the problem. And on our end, Director Holland will talk to the town attorney about what you've told us and what next steps could possibly be.
Yes.
Does that, good.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a nice evening, whatever is left over.
Yes.
It's a long one.
Yeah.
So that was the first of the administrative actions. Anything else that you wanted to bring to our attention, Director Holland?
Items 14 through 18 were various permits that went through the process and are underway. Nothing in particular. Nope, there's no slowdown in construction activities. I can
Interesting.
tell you that.
Good. Anybody have any questions regarding the administrative actions? If not, let's move on to our last item, training. So we talked at the last meeting about asking Attorney Pete Gelderman to spend an hour with us starting at 6 p.m. On a date of one of our regular meetings for an hour to give us some training on legal issues that crop up and things that we find it would be helpful to have his advice on. And thank you to those that actually provided suggestions about what we might cover in that session. I just want to make sure that everyone's had the opportunity to chime in if they would like to. If you have any additional ideas, please send Director Holland an email. And we'll try and put something together for this training session. It seems to me that it might be a good idea to do that at the beginning of the July meeting, because we've got just one, possibly two applications to deal with. Two. So it should be a reasonably short meeting. Would that be convenient for everyone to start at 6 p.m. on the date of that meeting, which is July something or other? Next meeting is.
Let me look. Yes.
Yeah.
July 21st.
July 21st.
It's a great day,
Okay, would that be convenient for you, Miss Owsley?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, Mr. Ramirez?
Yes.
For myself, yes. Mr. Redden?
Yes.
Mr. Stepanek?
I'm fine. Yeah.
Good. And I'm going to ask Director Holland to reach out to the other members of the commission, because one thing I think would be unfortunate is if, you know, 3 of us turn up at 6 p.m. on the 21st of July, and, you know, we don't have, we really have a very small showing. I think it would be good to reach out.
Yep, I'll do that.
And then the other thing that I just wanted to say as part of this discussion is maybe it would be helpful if we had a text group set up so that Kathleen can send out last minute reminders for site visits and meetings. I think you have the cell phone numbers of almost all of us, but I think there are perhaps a couple where we need to ask for your cell phone number. So is everybody okay with that idea? Good.
Kathleen, let me ask you about this. We don't need to go into an executive session on this from 6 to 7 before the.
No, your training, I'm assuming it'll be 6 to 7. Is that what you
Yes,
want?
6 to
So an
7.
hour, and it's training, so it's public forum. So, but it's for the commission's training. Yeah, they can come. Yep. But it's not question and answer. It's your training.
It's not going to be an exam at the end of it.
Well, I was just
No, I'm just
hearing what he's saying, and
You
I'm wondering,
don't know quite what's going to come up with
Yeah.
this.
I mean, we
There
don't
may
want
be
something.
here.
Well, I
that-
don't think so, in the sense that we're coming up with the questions. We're going to be given to Attorney Gelderman in advance. If there's anything in there that he thinks is inappropriate, I'm sure he'll let us know ahead of time. And he'll be doing most of the talking. And he is a professional land use attorney. So I'm sure all his comments will be perfectly appropriate. And I'm sure any follow-up questions we will have would be just
So
fine
this is
too.
primarily- This is not a fact-finding kind of session. This is a training session. Is that
Well, in
correct?
fact, this is the training session that
This
was
is the training
envisaged.
Session that we were asked to come up with examples for this
Yes.
training session? Yeah,
Right.
okay.
But it's a training session that actually, Dan, you as chairman started the process
No, I
for
understand.
a
But that's not
year or
what I
so
was
ago.
really thinking of.
Uh-huh.
I thought that the idea for something would might be a little more in depth. Okay, here. But we're just it's just but he has to. We have to tell him. He still doesn't know what we want to know, basically, right?
We're putting together a list of ideas that have come from various commission members. I'm going to provide that to Pete to go over the different topics. So yeah, we'll know. Yeah. So the only reason you guys can go into executive session is to discuss the settlement of a litigation. That's it. So no, there's no other reason for executive.
But if we want to talk about affordable housing.
No.
If we want to.
You can
That
talk
could
of,
be part of the training session. That's what I'm saying.
What does that have to do with it?
no, I don't think it
More
has,
information.
I don't think it has to do with inland wetlands. So the subject matter will be regulatory towards inland wetlands.
Inland wetlands better handle applications for affordable housing. And from a legal standpoint. how
Well,
do we work
whether
that?
the application is
Right.
for affordable housing, whether it's for a
Yeah,
single
I'm just
family
using that
residence,
example.
we have to decide whether it will have a negative impact on the wetlands.
Yeah.
And the criteria are set out in the town's regulations.
And the
but-
training also will not be specific to any pending application. So the discussion is a general discussion of the rules and regulations of which you might use to make decisions on applications. So it's not specific to this case or that case or, no,
Case history.
not anything that's pending before you
Yeah.
currently.
Just a general training
Mhm.
that we would like to know more about.
Yeah, things that you're
Yeah.
perhaps have caused confusion in the past. I gave a whole laundry list. I think we've all chimed in a little bit on things that we would like Pete to hone in on. So,
But it's not too late to add to that list if anybody would like to.
Or even come up with a list,
I'm sorry?
or even come up with the list.
Well,
Some
you
people-
have contributed, I believe, but if you've
But I'm
got
talking
additional
about other
ideas.
People haven't come up with the list.
I've got three.
Is that all you want?
Three. Oh, anyone else? Any other additional information? Yeah.
I think I would bug them again to see if they got anything in mind.
Well, I'm politely requesting ideas
Katie.
Adam, and looks like Mr. Ramirez would like to say something.
I recommend that anybody who is a commissioner who is not here tonight has to come up with an idea for the training.
Very good.
I second that
Touche.
motion.
Yeah.
Touche. All right.
Okay, anything else anybody wanted to talk about? Yep.
Good.
So can we have a motion to adjourn, please?
Motion to adjourn.
I second the motion.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Katie. Good night.
Adam was right. Adam was lined up. Pretty second.